Okay, guys, let me do the intro real quick for the chat because the chat expects this from me, and then you guys will give your intro, okay?
Okay.
Chat, only you can hear the music behind me because I haven't figured out yet. This is very intense music. I haven't figured out yet how to broadcast that to all the panelists. Excuse me. Welcome once again to another Chaos Cast where everything always starts not smoothly. Things are always there are a lot of obstacles. I have a hard time with it. I've had enough, okay? It's not even started and I've had enough, okay? And I'm pretty sure everybody on this panel has had enough too. I am enough. Okay, I mean, not enough. I've had enough. God, dude, I can't speak today. Chat, it's up to you. You decide. You decide who wins this. And we talk about the most important topics here. Other panel shows, they may run away because they're scared, but we don't do that. We don't do that. We talk about things here. OMG, she's losing it. I'm not losing it. I'm not losing it. Cringe? Excuse you. You're cringe. You. Your whole mom is cringe, okay?
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. All right.
That was deep.
Thanks. So, Chaeiry, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Chaeiry, and I stream.
Okay. Dooby.
I'm Dooby. I'm the least racist frog.
Oh. Oh, we'll see about that.
Mr. Girl.
I'm Mr. Girl. Hey, are we all looking at our chats? What's the etiquette with looking at your chat?
So chat is involved in it. Well, my chat is involved in this, at least in the voting process. So I try to, I keep track of what they're doing and what they're voting, but that's about it. So, yeah.
Are you guys going to look at your chat? Chaeiry, are you going to look at your chat?
I don't have a chat, but I'm looking at your chat and Stardust chat. And I'm about to pull up a Chaeiry chat if she has one. Is there in the chat if she has
I'm
one?
not streaming.
Damn.
Because it makes me happy when people in chat get uncomfortable about the tongue thing. So I just I like to time it for the reaction.
Fuck your tongue thing.
Whoa. Okay. So it's Zonia, what about you? You have a chat?
I'm not live yet because I'm still having issues left over even after rebooting. So for now, no chat.
Sorry.
Okay, so it's just me and Stardust. So Stardust, you're looking at your chat. I'm gonna look at my chat if you're looking at yours.
Yeah. I'll look at yours too. So don't worry.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I can't handle all that. All right. Yeah, I'm Mr. Girl. That's it.
That's it. Okay. All right. Zonia.
I'm here because I agree with everything that Mr. Girl has ever said, and I put all my weight behind him, and I'm also friends with Stardust. So
Thank you.
Basically, I'm here to get canceled.
Hey, if you didn't get canceled for last night, I think you're going to be okay. So.
Wait, what did I do last night?
You didn't do anything. I did everything last night. I started asking about transracialism last night. That was yeah. Anyways.
Oh no.
Doomermedia or Doomer Politics.
Yeah, I'm Doomermedia. I have a Twitter account where I talk about uploading YouTube videos and a YouTube channel where I don't upload videos. It's great.
Awesome. Yeah, you made the very infamous is Vosh evil, right? Unironically evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we ever determine?
Is he?
Video. I mean, you have to watch the video and find out, I guess.
Makes a really good
All right,
case.
I'll check it out.
Watch it. It's a great video.
Okay, I will.
Okay. All right. So the very first question I have for you guys is first off, how dare you? No, I'm just kidding. Okay. If you could eat any inedible object safely, what would you eat?
I think plutonium. Like, I feel like that would be really awesome. Like, imagine what you could do. You could screw with cell phones when you're around people. You could screw with photosensitive things, film, if that were really a thing these days, you can screw with camera sensors. Like imagine people trying to take pictures of you and getting a whole bunch of grain instead of actually seeing you. You'd be almost invulnerable when it comes to surveillance and such, especially if you could consume a whole bunch of plutonium. I have a feeling though it'd probably give you the runs.
Does it still have the normal taste?
Well, that would be extremely hot, I guess, right?
That's sort of the relevant question.
See, you
is
just
Like,
mean
we're
like,
back to
so,
spicy butthole discourse again.
So
Are-
to
are-
answer this
are-
question, you thought of fucking with people. I was just thinking about like the texture of the thing I'd be chewing.
that's what I was thinking about too.
And
My mind also immediately went to like customizing a base in a video game. It's like what maybe you could eat your walls and there'd be something functional about that or something.
I'm
Seems
just
dumb as fuck. But I don't
I'm
know.
just more thinking in relevance to our surveillance state that we live in, right? Like that's probably where I would go to is like, how do I circumvent just constantly being surveilled, right?
Well, I've accepted that. Made my
I feel
peace
like
with
it'd
it.
be tinfoil for me because I used to chew tinfoil when I was a kid, which is
Gross,
apparently
dude.
bad.
No
Which is
wonder you're the
apparently
way
bad,
you are. What the
right?
fuck?
Shut
No,
up.
I used to do that
So,
too.
but every so often, right, I'll
lot
see
makes sense.
tinfoil, right, when I'm in my kitchen, and like I get this like urge, just like chew on it, and I can like feel it in my teeth. I don't know why, but I can kind of remember what the taste was like, and I feel like I'd eat that all the time if I could.
Ugh, that's
I would eat
painful.
racism.
You would eat racism.
Yeah.
An abstract concept.
Oh, specifically Dooby's racism.
You're
Okay.
racist. What the
I
fuck?
Wait, what's wrong with
that-
racism?
That would definitely
I
give
would
you
eat
the
it.
runs.
Wait, hold on. So if you ate racism, I'd need to like stick around you and be racist to make sure that you were fed, basically. So I feel like you're encouraging me to be racist.
Yeah, you should go hang out with
No,
Chuck.
I would
That's
eat it
nice.
out of you.
You're saying he
eat it
can't
out
eat
of me.
anything but racism now?
Yeah,
Instead
that's
of
not
eating
the
out
question.
his butthole, you're eating out his racism.
Yes.
Yeah, the question is just if you could eat anything that was inedible, what would you eat, right? It's not necessarily
racism.
saying.
Are we like?
No, that is
are we
a
like
good-
unlocking?
That's a
Are we
good
unlocking?
that's a good modifier though. Once everybody finishes, maybe we'll change it to that. So
Wait, hold on. So when you say you're gonna eat my racism, right? So are you imagining yourself as like a vampire that needs to like suck it out of me, or is it more like it's in the air around me when I speak?
that's
And
true.
you like suck it up through the air.
Do you have to like
can really
make out with
absorb it.
him to get like to suck all the racism out of him?
Put your tongue back.
Then you'd have to start tonguing racists all the time.
I mean, that's kind of a plus, right?
Is it?
These are things to consider, actually.
You okay, Mr.
I can
Crow?
hear the gears grinding inside.
Yeah. So is the question like we get to basically unlock one thing we can eat? Because I think
Yeah.
I would unlock fake fruit. So like if I accidentally like went to someone's house and there was like a fake apple and I picked it up and bit it, that I'd just be able to eat it without consequence. That seems like a very functional thing to unlock.
I would unlock Pringles.
You can't
Wow.
eat them currently?
Brave.
No, that's not edible.
Hmm.
Oh, I
Why
get it.
isn't it?
That's funny. That's very funny. Yeah, she's
I feel-
saying
I feel
Pringles
like
suck.
it's not funny when you say it's funny.
Well, I thought it was funny. Wait,
Thank
I
you,
didn't
thank
mean
you.
to ruin the joke. I'm sorry. You okay, Mr.
It's
Girl?
okay.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
really
I'm
stuck on
okay.
that. I'm really stuck on the
Okay.
racism thing because now I'm imagining it's like a mosquito or something. But is there like a specific part of me you need to suck on to get the racism, or is
Well,
it
what
like,
if it's through your butt, dude? What if all your racism is
That'd be
contained in your
fucking awkward.
butt? It'd
That'd be
be so
strange.
weird.
You could add some like peanut butter or something. To make
when I'm
that
eat
really
racist?
easier.
I feel like they're pretty like clenched up back there, so that would actually make sense.
That's true. Every racist I've talked to usually seems to have a very tight butthole. Did you hear the level of tightness in Mr. Southern Dingo? Like, that dude clearly has a clogged
Yeah.
butt.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He just sounds like constipation, like incarnate.
Yeah. Like, he's
Dude,
got
it's backed
so
up
much
with a lot of
trouble.
stuff.
Yeah, he's full of
Yeah,
shit, dude. I
very
hope he
backed
gets
up.
some laxative soon. Mr. Girl, did you want to change your answer since we're talking? Or you want to stick with?
No. I want to
Okay.
stick by my answer.
Okay,
I
alright.
I don't have a lot to say about this question. I'm waiting for something I can really sink my teeth into.
like Dooby's
so-
racism.
So,
Literally and figuratively.
yeah. Okay.
I'm not racist. You are.
Oh, okay, Dooby. All right. So I guess we can add that modifier. I thought that was a pretty good modifier. Like, if that was like the only thing you could eat from now on, like how would you do it?
Yeah, mine is tinfoil. I'm sticking by that.
Oh,
I
okay.
kind of want to go get tinfoil right now and chew on it. Like
Don't
that's
do
the
that. That's so weird.
I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is. I remember chewing on it a lot when I was a kid.
Do you have
I think I
teeth
started with
still?
about.
Is it like a
Yes, I have
pica thing?
teeth. My teeth are beautiful. Okay, but I remember I think it started with like gum wrappers, and I don't know. Like it was a habit I had for a while. And ever since like I stopped, like every time I see tinfoil or think about tinfoil, I just get this feeling like I just want to chew on tinfoil. I don't know why. It's fucking weird.
Very strange.
Ever since, wait, like how young were you when you wanted to eat tinfoil? And was it around
I
the
must
same
have been,
time
like-
when you started to become racist?
I think there's a
It
correlation.
must have been like kindergarten, I think. But I don't know. See, I'm not a racist, so it wouldn't really like correlate with me being a racist at any point.
You are.
I'm so racist. I'm like an anti-racist.
Are you not racist because Mr. Girl sucked out all your racism?
Not yet. If that's gonna happen at some point, I'd be more racist to encourage that activity.
Are you hitting on him right now? Is that what's happening?
No, I'm trying to feed him.
Okay. All right.
That's fair. It's like it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
We still
Yeah,
never established
fair.
if it comes out of the butt or it comes out of the mouth or what.
Well, I assume that if Dooby is innately racist, it would be coursing through his veins, right?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he's got racism coursing through his veins.
Yeah.
It could be like that scene in Lord of the Rings where like Gandalf expels the dude from the other dude.
What?
Oh,
I don't know. I don't remember that.
Yeah, there's like the king and he's all like old and
Wormtongue.
like raggedy. Yeah, Wormtongue.
Yeah.
And Wormtongue's like possessing him or something, and Gandalf does a
Mm.
thing and like breaks him out, and then he's like young again or something. I
mhm.
don't know. I haven't seen Lord of the Rings in a while. So maybe you could like cast out the racism like with a spell.
Okay.
Can I ask Mr. Grill a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you actually think I'm a racist?
Yes.
For real?
Yeah.
Like how racist if you had to put it like on a spectrum?
Like 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
That's
Is
pretty
that more or
racist.
less than you're like? Than
My
you were
my
like-
chat is begging me to leave the stream. I'm watching. Are you
Really?
watching? Are you guys seeing my chat? Yeah, I'm watching
I
my
gotta see
career.
this.
I quit my last day of work was yesterday. I
am
quit my day
fantastic.
job, and I'm watching my career end in my chat right now.
Wait, why?
All right, pulling up Chaeiry now. Give me a sec.
Oh no,
Because
chat
they-
is so mad at me. Sorry,
Because
Are they mad
chat.
at, are they mad at Dooby?
They hate the conversation. They're telling me to leave. Yeah. I think because they want something more controversial.
Yeah, we can
Yeah, maybe
get to
well,
it.
Chad- Chad generally is a bunch of like no-lifers that get really parasocial and follow you around on the internet.
Look,
So-
Mr. Girl,
So we
this
should
is
ignore them for now, and I'd like to just ask you a question. So is that like more or less? Am I more or less a racist than you are a rapist? If we had to put them on the spectrum.
You are more of a racist than I am a rapist.
How? That doesn't
Well,
make any
I
sense.
think there's two things here. I don't believe that most rapists are pro-rape. Like there's the belief system of rape, and then there's the
Mhm.
action of it. And I feel like most rapists, if you were like, do you think rape should be legal? They would be like, no.
Wait, but
And so your
doesn't make
ideology
any
is
sense.
racist, whereas your actions. So by action, I might be more of a rapist. I don't know if you actually do racist things, but by ideology, I think you're more of a racist.
how's my ideology more racist than your activity is rapist?
No, I don't. I think because I'm technically a rapist, but I feel like that applies to a lot of people. I think you say things about race that a lot of people won't say.
I don't think that makes any sense. I think that my
That's all I got
perception,
for you.
which was that like white women should cross the road to avoid black people if they felt threatened by it, and that'd be totally fine and not racist. And also that stop and frisk was a good thing, which is also true, by the way. And that if there are areas where there's like high poverty, high crime, and high numbers of like black and brown people, it's totally fine for police to take that into account when they stop these people.
Dooby, I know you're
think that's
lying. What
far.
are you talking about? Stop and frisk was a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's generally a good thing for sure.
Why?
I think it massively helped the communities that got
What
stopped and frisked.
communities?
All we needed was Dooby. All we
Black and
needed.
brown communities.
That's true.
specifically. Because
Black
so it is
communities
true.
appreciated stop and frisk, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the ones that weren't criminals for sure.
The ones who were criminals appreciated
Who were
it.
not criminals.
Well, the,
Also,
well,
to
the
be
ones
fair,
who were
those
not
who have a stop and
criminals.
frisk kink.
You're just lying.
Yeah.
Wait,
This-
wait,
we
wait,
already had this conversation.
wait. The ones who were not criminals appreciated being stopped for nothing
Well, they weren't being stopped for nothing.
and
they were being
frisked for
stopped.
nothing.
No, some people like a good frisking once in a while, but beyond that,
I think most
they weren't
people
being
don't.
stopped and
Consensual
frisked for nothing.
frisking.
They weren't being stopped and frisked for nothing, right? They were being stopped and frisked because their community was identified as a high crime area, right? So they needed the police there. A lot
What
of
do you
these
wait? No,
community
no.
leaders
Shut up.
asked
Shut
the
up.
police to be
You
there.
literally can
Right, so-
stop and frisk them for
Oh my
nothing. That
God.
is the point of stop and frisk. You don't need a
Yeah,
reason.
But the reason they were there wasn't just
Don't say
like,
they
it wasn't
weren't
just
stopped
for no
and frisked
reason.
for nothing. They literally are
existed
stopped
there,
and frisked for
And
nothing.
the policy existed.
No,
for a
explain
reason.
yourself.
There was a reason behind this. They didn't just decide one day to just show up in these communities and start frisking people. They did it because there's
No,
high
no.
crime, high
You're
drugs,
explaining
high
why it
gang
was put into
activity.
place. Now
high murders,
explain
high
why
rape.
a cop would stop and frisk somebody. You're saying that there's a reason, but the whole point of stop and frisk was that they could stop and frisk you for no reason.
Well, I think the cop. I don't think the cop needed to like outline a reason, but I think most police in the area,
Exactly.
most
So
of the
they were
community
stopped and
members-
frisked for no
well,
reason,
no,
correct?
most of the community members could spot somebody and
I'm correct.
have a good indication that this person was involved in some kind of gang activity or might be up to no good. For example, if there's a bunch of people loitering on a corner somewhere, right? And they're there for an hour or so, you might assume that they're selling drugs on the corner. This is what lots of people do. If they're dressed a certain way, maybe they have like a red bandana. You might
Oh
assume
my
that the part
god,
of the blood.
Dooby! If they dress
Right,
a
this
certain
is-
way, what the hell, dude?
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
see,
Yeah.
this is why everybody hates me for being friends with Dooby.
Because I only speak the truth. Okay. I don't know what to tell you guys.
All right.
Gangs have uniforms.
Well, there's your controversial topic, Mr. Girl.
No, it's not because I already had this conversation with Dooby for like 3 hours, like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Fuck, dude.
I
you
still
guys-
think plutonium is better. I'd rather glow. Wait, I shouldn't have said that. No,
Okay.
I'm not FBI.
Okay. All right. Okay. I have to stop looking at chat. Okay. All right. Next
They're
person.
really
Next
upset.
one. Yeah, they're really upset. Yeah.
They are.
I'm sorry, chat. Look, what did you expect? This is what it is every week. Okay. I try to warn people. It is what it is.
Zonia confirmed CIA handler for Vivian Wolf.
Next question. All right. Next question is fuck, dude. Then well, okay. Now I'm thinking too hard about my list of questions here. But do I go with something more serious or less serious? I don't know.
More serious.
More
Go with
serious.
serious.
Well,
I
Okay.
love
All
the
right.
more serious.
Go more
This is a
cancelable.
democratic process.
Whatever is more cancelable.
Okay. All right. Well, if we want to go really full cancelable, we can talk about transracialism again.
Based.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think?
Okay. Who's the dumb fuck that believes in transracialism?
I think it's totally fine.
I don't
Yeah, I
believe in
think-
it. I just think I'm like whatevs, you know.
I
I
think
wouldn't
there's a
say
You do
spectrum.
you, boo.
I think there's a
No,
spectrum.
well, a spectrum.
Well, wait,
Yeah,
what's
there's a
transracialism? Is
spectrum.
identifying with a race other than what people identify you as?
Yeah.
other than what you were born as.
Well,
So, like-
who decides what you were born as? How are you defining what race you are?
Well,
What
race
your
is,
parents' makeup is.
race is
Yeah.
imposed on
Who-
you by
who decides-
society.
Are you saying
Yeah,
a
it's
genetic,
usually
like a DNA
reflection from
test?
society.
A DNA test defining what your race is? Is that how you decided what race you are, Chaeiry?
No, I've never gotten a DNA test.
Okay. Do you know what race you are?
Yes,
What
I'm
race?
half Dominican, half Italian.
How do you know that?
That's what my parents said that they are.
Okay. So self-identify. Will you agree that most race is just people self-identifying, right?
Hold on, because listen, I think that
No,
race
no,
is
no. Let me walk you
irrelevant.
through it. No, let me
No,
walk
you
you
can
through
walk me through it, but I can just
Yeah.
explain to you my position first, and then you can
I
like
don't-
walk me through it.
I already know your position.
You don't know my position. My position is that race does not matter. And in order for me to achieve that, I'm not going to take a U-turn in the direction where it matters so much that I allow other people to just change their race.
Well, if it
Okay,
doesn't matter,
That's.
I kind
I
of feel
wanna-
like
I-
that's.
I have some questions for Chaeiry.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know what race you are because your parents told you, and we know
Yes.
what race you are because you told us.
Yes.
So race is self-identified or identified by the people around you. Right?
I think
In 99% of
it's
cases.
even important to me because I know this information. So if it wasn't important, I probably wouldn't hold on
Well, you
to the
don't know it.
information,
You
right?
just were told it. You know it because
Yeah,
you were
but I
told it.
hold on to what was told to me.
Yes. Okay, right. So
Well,
transracialism is when you disagree with the people around you about what race you are.
Yes.
Okay. And possibly or disagree with your past self. You are contradicting statements that you've made in the past where you're saying, I used to be white, but now I'm black. Guys.
Yes. Rachel Dolezal, go off.
And okay. So is it transracialism when the person themselves is saying, I know I'm not really black, but I identify as black? Or are they saying I actually am black? I feel like this is the same question for transgender people too. I feel like some trans people say I was always a woman all along, and then some of them say I am becoming a woman. And in the I am becoming, there's an acknowledgement of like I was a man or I am a man sort of, but I now am a woman. And then in the I have always been a woman is I was pretending to be a man because I was assigned that at birth, but now I'm my true self, which is that I'm a woman. So with transracialism, do we know which of those two it is? Wait, Zonia, you're muted.
She's probably talking.
I'm
to her
talking to
chat.
my stream.
Unlike
Okay.
I'm live now, by the way. You can say hi to my chat
just-
if you want.
Hi, Zonia's
Okay.
chat. I was just making sure.
Poll
that
is
you-
in chat, by the way. Please vote for the who you think won the inedible object question.
So unlike gender, there is no history or study or even like known cases of people who feel a like desperate need for society to recognize them as a different race. So where we understand that people experience like body dysmorphia and like suicidal thoughts because of struggling with their gender identity, we don't have any like knowledge of that in regards to race. And the few situations that we do know of people who felt the need to publicly transition their race
Thank you for the raid, Nick. I appreciate you.
wanted to have a seat in power of the end of whatever it's called, NCAA. And then the other one,
NCAA, that's one.
and then the other person was an influencer, Ollie London, who after moving to Korea at the age of 17 and getting like 18 botched plastic surgeries, realized like what their issue was is that they were Korean the whole time, which they were not born Korean. But after 18 botched plastic surgeries, they decided, yes, what I've been trying to achieve is like the image of being Korean, which mind you, Korean people don't look like 18 botched plastic surgeries. I would take that as disrespect. but this is like why people are like transitioning their race. It's like an aesthetic thing. It's
Yeah.
it's a reason to get into like a position of power, or to have privilege from being a something different than white.
Right. Well,
That's
here's the
But
thing.
there's
If
also
we,
Nuka Zeus, who is not very successful and isn't really gaining anything other than being a lolcow for it. But
yeah, if we, if
it's
well,
oh, go ahead.
there's. Sorry, you can go if you want.
I was going to say I think it's absurd, and I don't understand it. And I personally feel that race shouldn't matter. But I would kind of agree with you that it is sort of like an aesthetic thing for most of the personalities that we know of. Like most of them were not raised in the culture and communities that they try to shape themselves after, right? So it's something that's very much a post hoc thing, and so that does make it aesthetic. It's not an internal kind of understanding of that culture from having grown up with it. So what I would say though is I don't think that just because it's aesthetic, I feel like whatevs, like let them do that, even if we don't understand it, even if it seems absurd, even if it seems like a mockery or a hijacking of like marginalized status or something. They're not really. Yes, Rachel Dolezal circumvented, stepped into power by doing it, but I feel that that is a rare situation and something that was found out eventually, and these things usually do, especially
you-
these days.
You feel like
So
a bunch of like white kids playing Call of Duty aren't gonna like transition to being black to say the N-word?
I don't
boy,
know.
that would be one hell of a meme.
I don't think you need to
But
transition to be black.
but
to
that's
say
the
the N-word.
same.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. We use that
That's
same
a lot of
argument.
stuff to do.
We
It's a
we
lot
use
of
that
stuff
same
to do.
argument.
Yeah.
Well, people use that same argument against trans people, right? Like, oh, you don't think that men will say that they're transgender just to whatever? Like, we've
I
heard that
don't-
argument, right?
I don't think that society has the same weight with gender and race. Like, I don't think that these two things, even though transitioning is part of like the phrase, like you're transitioning your gender, you're transitioning your race, doesn't make like the two things similar.
I don't
So
think they are
wouldn't
either.
that be
But
wouldn't that be a crazy amount of effort though to go through to say the N-word? It seems
Go
like
ahead,
that seems
Dooby.
very
I have a
unrealistic to me.
go ahead, Dooby.
I
Oh, sorry.
have a question.
Let's let Doomer politics get in here. Yeah.
Okay, so what exactly does it mean to be black? In other words, if I identify as black, what exactly is changing? What does that mean?
Well, here's
I think it means that you think you're black and you want other people to say that you're black, which is the same thing that it means for a black person to say that they're black.
Well,
I'm
what
going to
getting-
disagree. I'm going to
Right.
disagree with all of these definitions of race because race is we know imposed on us by society. So there's a reason why people fill out black, right, instead of like specifically despite whether they're African American or whether they're like from an African country that they can trace, right, they still fill out black on the forms to fill out their race, right? Same thing with Asian. Like, we've got like half of the world's population checking off the same box even though they're so different. The reason that, well, at least in America, we use race as something to, I guess, like physical characteristics, it seems, is what we're basing it off of. And I don't know that we can compare race specifically to like ethnic background, right? Because they are technically different. They're different things. So, and also I would bring up that, for decades or longer, actually, because of colorism and whatever else, we've always had people of color doing things, modifying their bodies to look more white, right?
Yeah, so like I'm all for people being able to change what they want about themselves. Even like cultural appreciation, I'm all for it, but you don't have to identify as a different race in order to do those things. Like the shame that we put upon, what is it, the Kardashians for rocking French braids, like they were appropriating like a black hairstyle. That's ridiculous. I would not want a world in which the Kardashians need to transition to being black in order to rock French braids. That's
How do you feel about
crazy.
cultural appropriation in general as a concept?
I am.
I think it's dumb.
It is really dumb. I think it takes a lot for you to be appropriating someone's culture. Most of
What
what
does it take?
people label as like cultural appropriation, like seeing white girls twerk on TikTok or some shit like that, they call that cultural appropriation. That's ridiculous. Like anybody can fucking twerk. There's no
Yeah.
there's no prerequisites for that shit.
Yeah.
But like if like an Asian dude dressed up in a sombrero and just started making like having a taco truck or something like that and calling himself Mexican, saying he has like authentic Mexican tacos, like that's probably some cultural appropriation. Like
Because
you are
he's lying, you're saying.
lying and probably kind of disrespectful.
Cultural
Okay.
appropriation is based. We should
Go
share
ahead, Dooby.
cultures. That's how we get along.
You mean appreciation,
Yeah, I
right?
think-
Not appropriation.
No,
I
I mean
think,
appropriation. I mean everything that people call cultural appropriation is good. Like a white girl starting a fucking taco truck or whatever, go for it. Share
No, but-
share culture.
I
There's no
think
reason to
She
stigmatize it.
can do that, but she
engage-
shouldn't pretend that she's Mexican.
I mean
Okay,
that
so-
element of
so-
it I don't
oh
really
God.
care about. I'm
Please,
just
I
saying.
need to say this. All right?
Okay, go
Fucking
ahead,
kill me.
Dooby. Go ahead.
So really quickly on the appropriation thing, I think that as an American, it's my right, and most of your rights, I think most of you are American here, it is your right, your duty, your responsibility in contributing to the great American melting pot to appropriate and bastardize the cultures of other nations. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think integrating what works from those cultures into our culture is a great thing. I think we should all do it. Secondly, I think that we're kind of missing the point because there are a lot of people who like grow up in areas that are let's say I was a white kid who grew up in East LA where I grew up, where I actually grew up, right? And so I grew up with a family there, eating all the disgusting Mexican food and listening to the music and hanging out with them, speaking the way they do, learning their slang. Maybe I learned Spanish because I'm hanging around them all the time, right? I think there is a line at which you grow up with and you identify with a culture and ethnicity so much that it does make sense to say that you're more that thing than a lederhosen wearing white dude. Right? I think it's fine to say that there is a line at which you become more closely identified to that racial group, or at least the cultures and the traditions that are typically associated with that racial group than your racial group. Whether that's a white dude living in East LA or a black dude growing up in fucking, I don't know, Texas or something, right?
I feel like you're wrong.
Why?
I feel like you're wrong because I feel like that person wouldn't have a similar experience to that group or even the group that they belong to. They have an experience of someone who is from one group but relates more to another group. Like that's an experience of its own. You don't have to try to fit yourself into someone else's box. I don't know why people are so scared to just like have their own box, right?
But that's why.
I think
That's why but that's why people who bring up the transracialism will compare it to transgenderism so much, because you could argue very easily that a trans man or trans woman didn't grow up with the with the kind of upbringing or experience that a cis man or woman would have, so they can't really identify with that thing. They're not really that thing. They're something else. And if that's what you believe in, then go for it. But I don't think
I'm
it is.
sorry.
It seems inconsistent.
I tuned out once you started talking. Can you repeat that?
Sure. So I think that so people who are like transphobic, right, would typically argue that a trans man or trans woman didn't grow up with the same kind of upbringing that or experience that a cis man or woman would. Right, a cis woman is subjected to the patriarchy and sexism and the gender expectations. Men are subjected to toxic masculinity, their gender expectations from the time they're born. right? It's in all their media. It's in the little blankets you get when your kid's born. It's all that shit, right? Trans men and women don't have that, right? They have a totally separate experience up until the point they discover that they're trans, and then they start adopting the new identity. They start transitioning and making themselves more, akin to their new identity. So if that's the case, right, and I'm totally willing to say that trans men and women are men and women. I don't understand why you wouldn't apply that same standard with race. So if I grew up in a Black community and I was using all the slang and eating all the food and doing all the traditions and all the cultural shit that they were doing, and at some point I decided, hey, actually, I'm gonna go get my skin dyed. I'm gonna start doing my hair a certain way because I just really identify with this culture because these are my people that I grew up with. I think it's totally fine to say that person's Black.
That makes you crazy. I'm sorry, Dooby.
Can you explain why?
Because that person isn't Black. That
But
person
what-
is
but
totally
if it's on the
evil.
skin
She just
dyed.
explained why. Wait, she literally just said this, and you just said the same thing that you already said, which she just said there should be a separate category for. She's saying that you can be more identified with Black people and Black culture, but not be Black. That can be its own category. We don't need to say that person is Black. And then you, at length, gave an example of that exact thing, and then said, "Well, I think we can say that person's Black." So I feel like you've reached an impasse where Chaeiry thinks you shouldn't say that person's Black, and you think that you should.
Right. Okay. But then I'm wondering if that's the standard, if it's just different because reasons.
Yeah, but I feel like
if
you pulled
they-
back
if they-
to gender,
Hold on,
where
so
I
if-
told you that gender and race should not be comparable here.
They're
But you
absolutely
still want to pull
comparable.
from there.
They're
They're not.
1000%. They're both social constructs that are imposed upon us from the time we're born. They're absolutely comparable.
Dooby, how do you feel about the N word?
What do you mean? How do I feel about
What?
that word?
Like, how do you feel about people using it?
I'm fine with it when it's funny. It depends on which one. See, the hard R
Oh,
The hard
should
R.
be reserved
Let's
for
start
funny
there.
occasions.
Let's start there.
Yeah, that should be
The hard R
reserved,
should be reserved for- okay.
when it's
oh
comedically.
God, dude.
So humor is a lubricant for a hard R, and if
Yeah,
you're going to
absolutely.
say it, it has to be funny. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
No,
are you
the
okay?
soft,
Are you
soft
okay?
A, I say that all the time. I think it's.
Well, I'm sure you do. But hard R though, back to the hard R. If it's used vindictively or viciously, if you're angry at somebody and they happen to be Black, and you're angry at them because they did something that you feel a Black person would particularly do you think it's okay to use that word in that instance?
I wouldn't say it's okay.
Would you say
I
it's
think
not okay?
I'd call it like a.
My guess is that you're not comfortable
Well,
saying
I'm
that
not-
it's not okay, even
Wait,
though
hold
you
on.
might
No,
actually
wait,
not
wait,
be okay with
wait,
it. And
one
so I
second.
want
I
to
can
corner
explain it to you.
corner you into a yes or
corner.
no answer. Are you okay with using the N-word vindictively, viciously, and targetedly at a Black person who you think, or somebody that using the word, not you, of course, is acting particularly Black? Do you think it's okay to use that word in that
Particularly
instance?
Black. What does it even mean?
I think you know what I mean. Well, whatever the
I
person
don't know
using
what
it
that
means.
means.
We're assuming this person using it has some presuppositions about Black people. They're going to say something. They want to say something racist because they feel racist or they are racist. They're going to use
Then
a
I would say
slur.
that's not okay. Yeah, so in
Okay.
that context, if they just want to be racist, no, I don't think
Yeah.
that's okay. But so
Can you
what
tell
I
me
was going
why
to
it's not
compare it
okay?
to, I don't think attacking somebody for immutable characteristics is a good thing. It's not something that I like to do, and I don't think other people should do it. But one second. But I'd compare it. So in that specific context, right? If they just want to be racist, then no. But there are
If it's funny.
there are other situations, and
Yes.
what I was going to compare it to was like the word bitch, right? If a woman's making you really angry, she's being really fucking annoying, she's being
Yes.
treating you like shit, and
Yes.
and you just call her a bitch, right? Because you
Yes.
want to hurt her. I don't think that's
Yes.
necessarily like a sexist thing to do in that specific sense. Is it a good thing to do? No, but it's not a good thing to do in the way that like it's never good to like insult somebody generally, right? And I think that the N-word is used in that way a lot. I think that lots of people, when they're really upset with somebody, they're looking for a way to hurt them. They revert to the most obvious.
And you think
aspect
that
of
is
them.
not? You're saying this is not okay with you?
Yeah, it's not okay. In the way that like it's generally not okay to insult somebody. But I wouldn't.
Okay, so
put it at
you're
the same
saying
level of
let me
using
get
it-
this right. Let me get.
I
Let me
wouldn't.
get this
I
right.
wouldn't put it at the same level of using it in like in a racist way.
Okay, so if I'm at McDonald's and there's a Black girl working there and she drops my milkshake and I call her the N-word, that is as not okay to you as it would be if I called my girlfriend like a dumbass. Those are in the
No,
same
it'd be no,
ballpark.
that's not what I said. It'd be as not okay as if you were like at the store and a woman dropped something, like a worker dropped something, and you called her a bitch.
Okay,
I think
what
it'd
if I
be
just
as
called her?
not
What if
okay
I
as
just
that,
called
yeah.
her a dumbass though? Because
A
you
dumbass?
tied it
That's
to general you tied it to general insults right at the end. So I want
wait, hold on.
clarification. You said
As a
it's
dumbass.
generally not. You said it's not okay in the same way that's generally
No,
not
this
okay
is
to insult
this
people.
is a spectrum, right? So like
You-
there are certain insults
okay.
that are typically tied to like immutable characteristics, like
Is the
bitch.
N-word the king of all insults?
No, I think they're better insults. I think
Can
it has
you
to do with like the
describe them
specific.
without
I think
most
I think it has to do with
not
the
okay
person
and
you're
without
talking
using
to.
the words? Are there words
Well, I
that
think they're
you describe?
situational. Like obviously, I think if you wanted to like drop a bomb somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the N word is like the best one. Around a bunch of like white nationalists or some shit, they're gonna laugh, right? So
Yeah,
it really
I'm not talking
depends.
about in an average. I'm talking about in an average situation of normal people.
Yeah, I would say the N word is probably the king of bombs, and then like just like an average situation. Yeah,
If
just
I
off the
can
top of my head.
follow up with a
I think-
question. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah,
Well,
I was gonna say I think it might be the K word.
No, Pete, that's like just not heard, and it doesn't roll off the tongue
There's
like the
a
N word
K
does.
word?
yes,
Well,
there
yeah,
is a
it's hard.
K word.
Yeah,
Not a good
N
word.
word really
to
rolls
say.
off the tongue, doesn't it, Dooby?
But people,
it
but you
really
don't
does.
hear Jews using it to refer to each other. Like you never hear it in a way. There's no soft A version of it. It's always a bomb.
Yeah,
but I
but
agree. There are a lot of
okay,
people
but it's in
who
the
don't
same way
know
that
it or
like,
it doesn't resonate with them.
but it's in the same way that like, so in the United States, if you call someone a cunt, right, it hits much harder than it would if you were like in Australia or some shit, right? Because we just don't say that in the U.S. typically.
Right, because it's normal to say that there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying about contact. Stardust, what was your question?
Yes. So in Dooby's world, where transracialism is a thing, if somebody uses a slur like the N-word at somebody who is not identified by society as a certain race, but they themselves identify as black, let's say, would that be a hate crime or something?
Well, saying the word isn't a
but
hate
Well, not
crime.
hate crime. Sorry, would that be hate speech?
I don't really believe in hate speech. I mean, I guess it's a concept, but I mean, it's just kind of.
Well,
Yeah,
so
I,
there
I would
could
say
be
so.
like
So,
a
so,
white
if, so if I
dude.
identified, if
Uh-huh.
I identified as like black, right, and I
Mhm.
taken steps, maybe I dyed my skin, did my hair in a certain way, because I wanted to present as black, and someone called me the N-word to like hurt me like in a racialized way, then yeah, I'd say that's hate speech.
What if you hadn't
What?
transitioned yet, I guess, to the new race?
If they knew about it and that was their intention, then yes. If they just wanted to use a word to insult me, because I mean, sure, we've all played video games before. Sometimes people throw words at each other just to be insulting, even if they don't know what you look like or whatever what you are, right? So if they were just trying to insult me and they had no idea that internally I felt like a black man, then yeah, I wouldn't call it racist or hate speech.
Okay. If they started beating you up and calling you slurs, then
Multiple slurs or just that one? What if they
just
called me
the
like?
one. Yeah. Or what if they what if
That'd
they
be
started
kinda-
throwing all the slurs at you, right?
The white
Every
ones,
slur.
the black ones, and the
Yeah.
Asian ones, like all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that like hate speech. I would just say that this person probably has like a limited vocabulary from which to like insult you.
What if you got beat up specifically for being transracial? Like, would that be a hate crime?
Yeah, I think so.
I
John,
think
you really agree with everything I've ever said?
I guess we'll find out.
Well, that's what you said in your intro.
It is what I said in my intro.
Is it a joke?
I'm not sure, honestly. Actually, no, I haven't heard everything you've ever said, so I have no idea if I would agree with everything you've ever said.
It doesn't answer whether it's a joke.
Maybe we should have a discussion.
Maybe you should
Well-
answer my question.
Well, I haven't heard everything that you've ever said, so I wouldn't. So honestly, saying that would be either hyperbolic or a lie. However,
Was it hyperbolic or was it a lie? Or a joke? You can still say it was a joke.
Well, that was technically a joke. I tend to meme when I go onto this panel, but yeah, if I were to actually unpack some of the things that or some of the things I've already unpacked with you, I don't
Yeah.
necessarily disagree with you. As a matter of fact, I found quite a bit of agreement with you when you and I were talking on that panel
Yes, I
back a
remember.
week and a half ago or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was interested in talking to you some more. But yeah, but we're here now doing the Chaos Cast panel. Figured it would be fun to meme a little bit because it's very likely that we're going to get heat just for being on a panel with you. And I don't really care. So I'm going to say some
Heat
inflammatory
from
things.
who gives a fuck?
That's what I'm going to say some
Oh,
inflammatory
go
things.
Dooby.
They're pissing at you about it. I told you this before, Zonia, when you came to me about some other people canceling, quote unquote. Literally go on the internet, look up a picture of a horse's vagina and send it to them. You're like, oh, no,
Do
Babes.
you guys
Who gives
remember
a
when
fuck?
you would get heat for?
I mean,
being
I
on
don't
with
actually
Dooby?
care. I mean,
That's
well,
true.
I don't-
Remember when Dooby was controversial? Now he's not as controversial.
No, he's
Well, because
controversial.
Yeah,
you're
he's pretty
used to it.
controversial.
Ironically,
Doopy's
it's like
pretty
that
tame.
thing about a frog in boiling water. You just slowly like raise the heat or whatever.
Oh, is that what
I've
this
done that to
is?
the entire Twitch scene over the last like, year.
True. No, to kind of push back on that, Dooby. Like, I don't really care about so much about that. Not for this kind of stuff. So that's why I said something that I felt would be very inflammatory. Basically leaning into the meme. So if anybody does want to try to come after me for being on a panel with Mr. Girl, I'm gonna lean into that shit pretty hard into the opening, so they have something clippable, right? I don't really care all that much. I mean, heck, like I said, I get a ton of shit for being
Well,
friends
you're
with
a
you,
fucking
Davey.
frog. Why would you care? You can escape this whenever you want. Nobody
Oh.
knows your real name.
No, the other one's a frog. That's Zonia talking.
Oh,
No, he
shit.
said I'm a fraud.
No, I said frog. I thought. Okay, wow. I'm
Oh.
sorry. I did
Wow.
not know who was talking.
Wow.
Wow.
That's fucking racist. Holy shit.
Jesus.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Uh,
I think we've learned something about Mr. Girl here today, guys.
Yikes.
what did we learn?
To be fair, Dooby's
You can't tell us
thing
apart.
never stops moving. It's
Yeah, what are you
Yeah.
doing with your throat, Dooby? Jeez.
Don't shame me. What the fuck?
He's doing.
Are you
he's doing
practicing
Kegels. Leave him
sucking
alone.
dick?
I'm
Like,
breathing.
what are you doing?
Wait, so but you
I need to
Zonia,
breathe.
you do care about getting canceled, don't you?
Not really anymore. I'm kind of developed a thicker skin than I used to, and mostly what I cared about before was a certain type of stalking that I was dealing with, combined with harassment.
But if you're giving a
So-
clip, isn't that
What?
kind of a defensive maneuver to throw up a clip so that people can clip you and then you can say it was a joke?
Yep, I basically throw some pretty. I throw some shit out there, so kind of sprinkle the playing field with a bunch of misdirection.
I see. Okay.
Dooby,
There
we're really
are
gonna do this?
people who regularly go after me
I'm just saying. Okay.
just because they don't like me and they're looking for anything to go after me for, and they want me to do things like condemn Dooby and not be his friend and such, and I'm like, fuck you, not gonna do it. So and because I know that I'm gonna get a lot of people coming after me for being on a panel with you, Mr. Girl, especially
Yeah.
after being rather cordial with you the other day.
What are they going to
Um,
come after you about being on a panel with me?
Okay. You win.
Well,
You win.
I
Calm
don't
down,
know.
calm
So
down.
that's why I just throw some shit out there, let them grab
Calm
whatever
down.
they want
You win,
and make them
okay?
look stupid.
see.
You win.
All right. Look, I am the one platforming everybody that apparently I'm not supposed to platform. So I don't think I think it's fine. You know what? People will get used to it. It's fine. It's totally
Okay, so
fine. Yeah.
let me bring it back to transracialism really quick.
Yes.
So
Go
I'm
ahead.
basically going to restate my question earlier in a different light using a personal example. Okay, so I went to an all-black middle and high school, right?
Mhm.
And I listened to hip hop, and in every way that you could really conceive of, I was immersed in black culture. Okay, so but what would I stand to gain by identifying as black? Like, what reason would I have to do that?
Maybe you're applying to Harvard.
Okay.
True.
That is a decent question, but
There are situations where it's better to be black, especially on paper.
well, but that sort of brings up a problem, right? Because if you're able to just identify, like, the reason that there would be preferential entrance, or whatever it's called, preferential acceptance at Harvard for black people, has to do with a lived experience that I wouldn't have as a transracial person.
Right. So
if
you get to have the good part of being black and none of the bad.
Sure, but all that you would stand to gain by allowing that would basically be to erase the lived experiences of people who haven't had the choice to be black. They just
but you could get cornered.
Experience.
You could get cornered by various activists from different groups. Like you see that transracialism is often used as an argument against transgender advocacy.
Yeah.
Right? The people say, well, if I can switch genders, how come I can't switch races? The thing is, though, I think that swings both ways, and you could actually end up having to, maybe in a couple of years, eventually say, okay, then fine, fuck it. We do accept transracialism. Maybe there aren't so many.
I think if
there aren't. Yeah.
I think if down the line we come up with the same like studies and stories, and we find out that people go through the same like internal issues that they do with gender and identity for race, then maybe I'll get closer to it. But at this moment in time, there's no evidence that anybody feels like they have to commit Sudoku because the world won't identify them as Korean.
Do you think that studies and science are the things that advance trans rights activism?
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, understanding that this is that identity is so severe that somebody would want to take their life, then yeah, I think that heavily weighs other people who
I don't
put themselves.
That's not science though. That's people saying just please. That's
what
like
I'm talking
that's
about.
pressure. That's not evidence. That's not evidence that their claims are true. That's just evidence that
I feel like the
pressure on
suicide
you.
rate. I feel like the suicide rate is evidence that their struggle is true.
It's evidence that there is a struggle, but that is not evidence that the struggle is as it is defined by trans rights activists or trans people.
I think I'm getting
Go
confused.
ahead, Dooby. You want to step in, Dooby? Was that you were raising your hand earlier?
Dooby's not gonna say shit.
All right, so Mr. Girl, would you say that me identifying as black to get into Harvard easier would be a legitimate thing to do? There's something wrong with that?
Well, when you say legitimate,
I mean, is there anything wrong with that?
Yes, but I don't think Harvard should admit people more because they're black.
Sure. So I agree. So
I have a lot of other problems with other things in your question, but yes.
Well,
given the current, yeah.
So I'm just going to go back to my previous question then, because I agree. I would prefer this just not be a thing, that we heavily weight, entrances based on race. And I think it's a bit weird if I was to claim a different race, basically to get into college earlier. That seems a bit weird. So then if we're not talking
but if you're
about
trans and you get into Harvard because you're a woman, or because you're a trans woman, do you accept the idea that maybe some people transition so that society will treat them differently, and in some cases preferentially, in the situation where a woman would be treated preferentially? Is that ever part of the appeal, or could it possibly be?
Given the way that trans people are treated in the U.S., I would be surprised if I'm not sure there's a single person that would qualify.
I mean,
whole
you're
thing
getting killed every day, so
you don't think? Whoa!
I was being molested.
What?
So I'd like to.
And it's a
you
lot
missed
to
your
go through
fucking
for
chance.
transition.
You're saying there's no. Actually, fuck you.
When?
After this panel.
Okay.
Do you think you're saying that there's no situation, Zonia, where someone has transitioned because they want to be treated to female, because on any level they want to be treated as more feminine or more pretty or more whatever, whatever situation we privilege women in.
Stop it. Men are pretty too. Okay.
I'm not saying so. What I'm trying to say is not that. What I'm trying to say is that people are, with what we face on a daily basis,
Yeah.
I don't think it's reasonable. I don't think it's realistic that somebody would go through all the effort necessary to transition to put themselves in a place where they're then at risk of being murdered every day by strangers.
I
So
think
not for those, not for like
okay. I
just
think
trying to
the
get like a scholarship or something, right?
I think
It's
the
a
risk
lot of
of
effort. Sorry, go ahead.
I think the risk of stranger murder is overblown. And
Hey, I
even
carry
if it
a
is,
pistol on me for a reason.
yeah, well, me too. However, I think the risk of either of us getting murdered is still pretty low. Even if it is higher. I don't even know that I believe that it is higher.
Okay, so
It's-
here's
It
the
depends on the
question.
area
Wait,
that
hold
you're
on.
in. It depends on the area that you're in.
The question
I
is,
think.
Wait. I wanna say that I mean, also the amount of effort it takes to transition on a college application is pretty different from the amount of effort it takes to transition like in your family or friend group or whatever. Like you can just go to like a government building and switch your gender. I don't think it takes
I
that
don't
long
know
or costs that
that-
much.
It
And then apply to the
depends.
college as a woman.
Don't you have
Depends
to
on the
live as the
government.
opposite gender for like a year before? Go ahead, dude.
Depends
Okay,
on the
fine,
government.
then
Depends
go.
on,
I mean, like
some
whatever.
need some need a doctor to certify that you.
Uh-huh.
It all depends on where you live.
Okay,
So
I'm
it's a
just
little
saying
easier
that.
here
Well,
in
I'm
California.
I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm pretty sure in Massachusetts, if you say, "Hey, I'm a woman," every fucking state official in Massachusetts will say, "Oh, okay, I recognize you as a woman immediately." I imagine the bar is not very high.
Yeah, so if you're saying that like in a place where there's not much gatekeeping and someone could rather easily at least
Yeah,
get enough
Yeah.
of the credentials to qualify for like a minority loan, or in the case of gender, women's, or not loan, but scholarship,
Yeah.
or in the case of gender, a women's
Okay.
scholarship.
So as you see,
Um,
if you believe that trans women are actually women, but transracial black people are not actually black people, then of course you would draw a huge distinction between the two. But if from where I stand, if you see it as more like they just are saying they are and we're agreeing they are, or we think they are, then it becomes a lot more murky accepting one and not the other. So that is the tunnel through which I think that we may actually end up accepting transracialism, and I think it'll be the same thing. Some
I don't
people
think-
really, really want it, and the rest of us will say, "Oh,
But I
fine."
don't think anything about your race is like internalized. I feel
Yeah,
like
there's
that's
an
all
inherent.
our
So the way that
experience.
it was explained last night.
I'm
Go.
gonna be AFK for a sec because I got
Okay.
a big raid, so I'm gonna address the audience a bit.
Okay, all right. Dooby, why don't you go
Okay.
ahead because you're
Yeah,
losing
so-
your shit. So
Yeah. Okay. So I have a question. Because I feel like a lot of the arguments that are being put forward seem like somewhat connected to the current race relations in the United States. So what I'm wondering is if you were in a country, or maybe 1,000 years from now, right? The United States is a place where you could grow up as a white and black person and face either no discrimination for your race or similar discrimination for your racial group, right? There's no white supremacist system, whatever the fuck you lefties say, right? If that were the case, right, and someone was growing up in this place, and the race was literally just kind of your culture and the color that you were, right, and you didn't have all this baggage of Jim Crow and slavery and redlining and all this yada yada, right? If that were the case, would you have the same kind of I don't want to say like disgust, the same kind of like distrust toward people who say that they want to be black?
I give you this example with even a different race. If you want to make this so unloaded, just remove like white and black from the equation. Ollie
He
London.
doesn't want to do that, and you know that. Doobie's lobbing grenades your way. You know that, right?
This is pretty
and I'm
simple
a dodge.
question.
But listen, listen. I don't even have to engage with the whatever fake story that you
Doobie's launching
created.
heat-seeking half-black girl missiles at you.
Listen,
You're
there's
gonna
a dude
dodge them all?
who moved to Korea, right?
Yeah.
He's from the UK, Ollie London, 18 botched plastic surgeries. He thought he was finna look like some K-pop star. He looks like trash and decided, you know how I'm gonna fix this? I identify as Korean and my pronouns are they, them, Kor En. Kor En are his pronouns.
Yeah, but that's
okay?
just somebody
This-
who's not being serious, like probably, right? So like, but if there was someone who
and
grew
show
up in
me an
Korea,
example of anyone who is serious that feels this way. And until there is that person, I don't give a fuck. All we
Wait,
have
so
are
does-
one person that wants
Well,
to.
yeah, but
grab
your
I think-
original.
power.
but
I
it's
think
a line.
Rachel
Is a line
Dolezal
that they need
was-
to wait. Hold on.
was
Is the line
serious.
that they need to feel like they're going to kill themselves if you don't call them this thing? That's the line. Like what's
The line is that
Right,
they're
exactly.
serious.
You were saying studies in science, but then you said, oh, actually, it's people threatening to kill themselves. So if people
No.
threatening to kill themselves,
I didn't say it's people threatening to kill themselves. I said that the suicide rate like demonstrates that gender
Okay,
identity is important
fine.
internally in a
Okay,
way
but
that we
that
can't
isn't-
visibly see in people.
I don't think it does. I think it demonstrates that people think it is or feel that it is. I don't think it demonstrates that they know the truth about gender. And I understand there are studies about that separately, but I don't think that's
No,
what's
so
that's what's pushing it along. So I think what Dooby's saying and what I'm saying is that if you start getting the same kind of extremely heated, passionate advocacy of like transracial people are targeted, like when I go around in Harlem saying the N-word and wearing clothes like I'm like from there, even though I'm not, and trying to talk like them, I get targeted, I get harassed more, and like you could see, and it's a goofy example. I actually used to live in Harlem. I lived
Okay.
there for a year.
I used to live in Manhattan.
Shit, where'd you live?
I'll tell you privately.
Okay. I lived on Adam Clayton Pell, in 133rd.
I live near the Upper East Side.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
My point is that you could see the same sort of super passionate appeals to, I'm gonna get killed, I'm gonna kill myself, I'm unhappy, blah blah blah, that could push this idea through, and that whether science supports transgender trans rights activism or not, I don't think
Okay.
I don't think that's what's pushing it through.
Why, can I engage? Can I? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Well, what I would say is that it's not the incongruence with society that makes somebody trans, right? It's an inherent thing inside them, right? It doesn't matter.
That's the claim. I don't agree with that.
This is what I want to
don't-
engage with you on, because like if I am a gender abolitionist, and I feel like I agree mostly with gender abolitionists, it's
Okay.
like it's understanding like what gender actually means. But the struggle that people feel right now in gender identity has a lot to do with the fact that it matters in society. So while
Yes,
we can
but-
understand that it should be irrelevant, like you have to engage with people with what society is today, and that's why
Okay,
they have.
So
these struggles.
you basically agree with my general view that or body dysmorphia, gender dysmorphia, or dysphoria, gender dysphoria, is the result of societal pressures basically making people crack in some way, rather than an inherent I'm in the wrong body biological phenomenon.
I do not know. I haven't watched
disagree.
your gender narratives, and
Yeah. So you know what I
just have
think.
to let me watch your. I haven't watched them, so
Oh, you haven't
I
watched
Yeah.
it?
don't actually know that.
I can
position.
disagree
So
with you.
you might.
I can disagree
Well, I know
with
you
you. Yeah.
I know you fucking disagree with me. I want to know where Chaeiry stands, though.
I'll let you know when I watch them.
Okay, but you're open to the idea that there is no such thing as psychological gender, and that maybe trans people have just been made to feel bad about their bodies in some way and just want to escape, or feel like they're supposed to be the other sex, or you think maybe it is that they are born in the wrong body and need medical treatment to fix that. And you're saying either way, even if it is just societal, we should accept that the way they feel is real.
Okay, so if I'm going off what you just said right there, without like watching the content and like I assume was like hours of explanation of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to summarize.
I would just say I'm not. I would say I'm not sure, because then I could I could take that and say that because a child is born and you see their like what genital that they had when they were born, that you reinforce something to them as well. Like it could work both ways.
Yeah, there could be an interaction, but that ends up being re-socialized into them based on what they're presenting. But you're saying, I'm not trying to summarize my view on it. I'm trying to summarize yours, which is that you're not sure, or you think it might be some of both.
My summary is I don't know what gender dysphoria is. I've never experienced it myself, but I do respect the information that I can read about it, and the stories that I hear and that I can read about. I know me personally, I don't care what anybody identifies as their, like if they're man, woman, or non-binary. So because it doesn't matter to me,
so you're sort of
that's where I'm at.
You're sort of agnostic about it, but
I think
you want to make sure that people don't feel that means that you want to go out and discredit them or argue with them about this.
Yeah, because I just don't think that how would I argue against what someone else feels like in their head, in their mind, about like who they are, like gender wise.
Okay.
It's for me, it's like one of those things where you're in a crowd and a big portion of that crowd is all raising their hand that they experienced something. It's very hard to dismiss it when there's like that many hands up.
So and I feel like that's my calling card, is like, just because everybody around you is raising their hand saying something, you can be like, maybe not though. Maybe you're wrong. Because we've seen so many times in history that one person can be in a room with 500 other people, they're all saying the same thing, and they could just be wrong. I don't think majority.
I understand where you're coming from.
I know you do.
So, Chaeiry, the difference to you between transgenderism and transracialism is basically the percentage of the population that reports it. Like, if more people reported transracialism, you would think it was more legitimate?
Wait, who, me or him?
You,
Chaeiry.
It's me and Dooby versus
if more
you.
people reported transracialism.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the difference, because what you just said about transgenderism.
You're saying if enough people raise their hands and say, this is my true lived experience, if you don't start treating me like I'm black, I might kill myself.
But that's
if
the thing.
Enough people say that, then that would be evidence to you that if even whether it's social or genetic, we should start treating it like it's a real thing. And you're saying that just not enough people have said that.
Like, I'm okay with going on record saying that at this point in time in my life, if somebody does identify as transracial, I think they're either crazy or they're malicious.
But if 500 people do it, then you're going to start
Then
thinking,
there might be 500 crazy or malicious people. That's just like where I'm at right now. I cannot fathom.
Okay, so
you
cannot be convinced by a large crowd of passionate people that transracialism is a thing.
I also want to point out.
So I guess that's how I feel about transgenderism.
I don't want to cut you guys off.
I can't be convinced.
I want to point out that same thing was said about us, Chaeiry. That we're just crazy.
I will be a broken record that race and gender is not the same.
I know. It's just it's like, difficult to argue when the argument has the same format as what was used to deny us.
Okay,
and then maybe we should stop using transracialism and call it something else.
Okay, Juan, does anyone here think
what the fuck is going on with Zonia?
What is going on?
Oh yeah, she can hear. You hear this shit, Zonia?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Drinking water?
No, you're doing a lot more than drinking water. My chat says that your chat is pissed at you, and that you're pissed at me. Is any of this true? This is just the.
Well, I don't know. I'm asking my chat right now. Are you guys pissed?
You're asking your chat if you're pissed at me?
No, I'm not pissed at you. I like you. You
can like me and be pissed at me. Those are not mutually exclusive. I would even say that
you're about to piss me off if you keep pushing this.
Okay.
I'm going to keep pushing it.
Does anyone here?
Wait a minute. Doomer Politics has been waiting. Okay, we're gonna let him speak. Okay, go ahead, Doomer.
Wait,
okay,
Mr.
We're talking about a bunch of trans shit
fight right now.
Sorry?
We're talking about a bunch of trans shit.
Yes.
Yeah. So about the trans shit, does anyone here think that we should treat anyone like they are black?
Uh,
Yeah,
What
it
does
depends on
that
the context,
mean?
but I'd say yeah. I think
Wait,
I
what
treat
Under what
I,
context?
I treat
What the
Chaeiry
fuck
like
does
she's
that
black.
mean?
well,
Yes.
it just means maybe it's because unlike you guys, right? I don't treat people differently based on the race. Okay,
Well, I
so
do.
when I say I know when I say that I would treat someone like they're black, I treat them just like anybody else. And if they wanted me to say that they're black, I'd say sure, right? Just like I would to a trans person who asked me to say a certain thing, or to someone that had like a xenogender and they asked me to say a certain thing about them. I'd do that just to be respectful, right?
Okay, but you're saying that your treatment is identical. So then you aren't treating people like they're black. You're just saying, okay, you want me to say that you're black, so I will, but I'm not going to treat you any differently. So the fact that they're identifying as black means nothing. It has no substance.
Well, because I just don't put much weight on like race or gender, like generally.
So this is what I was getting at
So
earlier. Is
to
that
me, these are just the ways that people socially identify themselves, right? So like it's not that big a deal.
well, that's exactly
Well,
my
no,
point.
because when you're
If
citing
there
crime
isn't,
statistics and saying that 90% of the rapes in New York are done by black and Hispanic people, you're not saying people who self-identify or who asked you to call them black and Hispanic. You do see race.
Well, I see race in that, I see the physical characteristics that socially we've called like racial groups, right?
You,
And in
yeah,
New
you
York, it is
fucking
true
notice them.
that people with those physical characteristics behave in that way 90% of the time, right? 90% of the rapes and murders in New York City in any given year are committed by black and brown people. That's just the truth. And when I say black and brown people, I'm talking about what society typically calls black and brown people, which are people who
Oh,
look
but
black
you
and
don't
brown
call them black
aesthetically.
and brown people. You're above
To
it.
me,
Sorry,
the race literally doesn't fucking matter, right? These are just the physical characteristics that society has decided to call like a race,
Well,
and
that's what
because
makes
these
it
are
matter.
the
That's I
physical
think that's
characteristics
what he's
that people are
asking.
mapping out when they're doing these crime
okay, but
stats,
this is
then
what
that's
I'm
all we're
getting
doing.
at. If transracialism is nothing more than basically being polite, saying I'll call you what you want, because this will make you feel good, but there's no substance behind it, and this is a very strange thing to be this large of a topic of discussion. Because as far as I can tell, there isn't anything that most people would say is like treating you as though you're black. That's a legitimate thing to do. We shouldn't be treating anyone as though they are black in the sense that we have some set of stereotypes or characteristics of quote unquote black people, and that we should be treating people who we identify to be black by those characteristics. No one seems to hold that view. So there seems to be
I
nothing more to transracialism aside from I'm just going to be polite. In which case, I
I
wonder
think
why this is even worth discussing.
no, I think we should treat black people differently, or I treat black people differently from how I
How
treat
so?
white people for sure.
How so?
There's certain things I would say to a black person, or things I wouldn't say, or ways like when I in my conversation with Rhizome yesterday, in the middle of it, I was like, you're black. I was like, I feel like we're like not talking about that you're black, like we're forgetting that you're black, and I
Okay,
brought it
so
up, and I was like,
and when you bring it up, I'm guessing that what
yeah,
you're getting at, what the important part about them being black, has to do with some lived experience that a person who isn't black wouldn't have. Correct?
yeah, yes.
Okay, so if I was to be transracial and identify as black, would I have that lived experience?
Uh, it depends. It depends. I mean,
Wait,
don't you think there are trans women who have, I would say, at a certain point, do have the lived experience of being a woman if they're passing for long enough? Maybe if you passed.
Well,
Do you do that with other racial groups?
I'm talking about the moment. Like, for example, if you are black in America, there is a unique experience, right? That
No,
there's, hold on, there is something that is somewhat unique to not all, but many black people in America that
on
they
average,
don't.
there's an
They-
average different experience. Yeah,
yeah. So, like, one thing is that some people care a lot about their heritage, and
yeah.
black people in particular, if they cared a lot about this, it's a problem because they aren't able to take their heritage back as far as other people were for obvious reasons, right?
Depends on the black person,
It
but
does
yeah.
depend on the black person, but we're just speaking in generalities, right? So that is a thing that would be different about someone that's black in America. The thing is,
Mhm.
if I was to transracially identify as black, that wouldn't apply to me. So
Mhm.
I'm
I
trying
feel
to,
like
yeah, so I'm
I
trying to get at like what if I was to identify as black, the only things that I can think of that would even matter at all about a person being black in America, none of them would apply to me. I wouldn't have the lived experiences of being a black person in America.
okay, I feel like you guys should talk to some biracial people because
We are.
even the black even the black experience in America is like on a spectrum. You have like
Absolutely.
you have black people who consider other Black people just like not Black enough. And
Absolutely.
for
I would
me
say
as a biracial
that's probably a
person,
big part of the Black experience in America, is being
I've
considered not Black enough by other Black
Mhm.
people.
and I feel like it's perfectly fine to not identify or put yourself wholly into someone else's box. Like it's super easy for people to be able to label someone as Black or white or Asian or like
Yeah.
Spanish. You make it almost impossible for you to just have like different experiences outside of that, and you almost like force someone to fit themselves into like into someone else's experience, which almost erases part of their own. And that's why I think transracialism is stupid.
Well, here's the thing, is that that same argument can still be used and is still used on trans people. And I don't know if Zonia
what were you gonna
wants...
say?
So you're talking about transgender.
Yes.
Yes, transgender. I didn't mean to cut you off earlier, Zonia. I just felt like Doomer had been waiting for a while, so I wanted to...
It's okay. We're
mention
not
Time to
friends
fight
anymore.
about
I'm
gender,
kicking you out of my
Zonia.
server.
Oh, shit.
What did you say, Mr. Green?
I was just gonna see
Time to
if you
fight.
wanted to say anything, but I was gonna talk about like what Vivian was saying last night. Is so personally, I don't know that I fully buy into like the gender abolitionism thing. I think I'm more of like somebody who does believe that there's something inherent in somebody that makes them want to be at somewhere on that spectrum of gender, right? And that's why people choose to either identify as non-binary or a woman or a man, or somewhere in between. And I do think that because there's that, like, I don't know, I feel like there's an inherent thing, there's an inherent gender identity. I don't know that there's like an inherent racial identity,
Well,
right?
when you say inherent, do you mean like biological, or do you mean something that is ingrained in people young enough that they don't remember it?
I don't know if it's biological, but I know that I don't know if it's biological. I don't know the biology behind it, but it's something that
Like-
I don't
like
know if
you-
it's
you can
ingrained.
imagine-
I don't think it's
Hold on.
ingrained. I think it's just something that's
Star,
in somebody. Yeah.
Star, can you tell me a situation where somebody who wants to identify as a different race needs to be able to say that instead of
I
just
can't. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is that with the way that I view gender is, I think it is there is some sort of inherent thing in somebody that makes them want to fit into some part along the spectrum. I don't
I
see
think
that
that's-
for race.
I don't think that's true. I don't agree with that at all.
Well, you're a gender abolitionist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Me
we
too.
have
I'm a
different.
gender abolitionist as well.
Yeah.
All right,
But
Zonia.
is that 4 out of 6? That's a pretty good ratio.
What, Zonia?
What? Sorry, what did you say, Doomermedia?
Explain yourself. How you're a gender abolitionist.
I think gender is way too essentialized and too ill-fitting for a lot of people, and especially as our culture evolves over time, we become more and more divorced from the things that we associated as gender, and the lines become more and more blurred. And it seems like the more that we try to confine things and bucket them within gender, the more ill-fitting it becomes as society evolves. So from my perspective, I think it would be more liberating and freeing to move in a direction that just makes gender no longer essential and effectively abolishes it over time. I wouldn't
Okay.
push it in that direction, but I think that would be the better direction to go.
Well, you're not pushing in that direction. You know my next question.
Sure. What is it?
Well, aren't you bucketing yourself?
I am, yeah. To some
Okay.
degree, I am. Because
So-
I do express in a feminine way.
Thank you, Hans, for the raid. I appreciate you. We love you very much.
These two things.
I have dysphoria, and I struggle with the way that I appear, and so I do tend to bend toward what would be considered a traditionally feminine appearance, and it does help reduce my dysphoria.
So
But
due to this physical or psychological pain, you are you're giving in to
Yes.
a desire to bucket yourself despite it going against your own philosophy of gender.
Hmm. And I do recognize that it's not what I would like to do. And I would like to just kind of be, I think I would like to be completely liberated from the entire concept. Like
This is why you look up to me.
part of the problem that I also see, and this is, obviously there's a combination of issues here, but part of the problem is that it is difficult to survive in a healthy manner in this society if you don't conform to certain standards.
Yes.
So a lot of us call it passing, which I don't even like the concept of passing, because technically I think the whole desire to want to pass in a way just creates more of a rigid problem. And like
Yeah. You think
it has
you,
blowback not just on trans people, but
I mean,
also
it sounds
on
like
cis
you
women.
think all the same shit that I do about trans people.
Yes, and but I do struggle with like my dysphoria is significantly stronger if I'm in society and people are staring at me and kind of wondering, especially if their eyes pop, and I try to ignore it as best I can. I've gotten pretty good
Yeah.
at it over the decades, but it's still like on some days, like yesterday, I wouldn't even turn on the camera when I was on a panel because my dysphoria was just way overblown. I didn't
Did
even
I
want to go
trigger
shopping.
did I trigger your dysphoria earlier when I thought that you were Dooby talking?
No, I didn't even think about it.
To be
So,
fair, people say I have a feminine voice all the time. So
Do you
So-
No,
can I
you do
ask you
not.
about can I ask you about your dysphoria?
sure, I don't have any issues talking about it.
What's it like?
Oh gosh, how do you explain that? Okay. Would it make more sense to get more verbose in terms of like cerebral kind of a effect of
No.
it, or to be
No.
more, these are examples of what have happened? Like
I
I
think
could say there are days when I cover up all reflective surfaces in my house,
yeah,
if that makes any sense.
that's an intense that speaks to the intensity of it.
Yeah, I'm like,
Can I
sometimes
ask
I
you
will
kind of a
like
weird
avoid, if I see my reflection in the mirror, I'll just like dodge the mirror or something, or from a reflective surface.
can I ask you kind of a weird
Yeah.
question?
Sure.
Is there a physical sensation in your body of dysphoria? And if so, where is it, or can you describe it?
Nothing more than like anxiety, nerves, like I'll get like my heart will race, or I will be like hypersensitive to certain things like sounds and such, when
It's
my
like fear.
dysphoria is really, really peaked.
It sounds like fear.
I'm sure it's going to manifest in many different ways, including fear, like certain traits of fear, etc., or
Is there
manifestations of fear.
a thing that you're afraid of? Specifically, like agoraphobia?
No.
Like you're afraid of being trapped out in a crowd or trapped away from not being able to escape somewhere. Or like
I've ne-
acrophobia, you're afraid of the ground is the monster at the end of the tunnel, right? With your dysphoria, is there a thing at the end that you're afraid is like will get you?
no, not really.
It just
That
feels like a generalized like anxiety. And then if you cover up the reflective surfaces and don't look at yourself and others don't look at you, eventually it subsides.
Yeah, usually, like, I was actually telling Prime Kai the other day. This kind of relates to this quite a bit. Prime Kai and I were talking, and I was telling him about how the reason why I often don't turn on my camera when I do the walk-on panels is because when I do the walk-on panels, it's usually like a last-minute thing that I jump into. And for me to go on camera, I actually meditate. So I do quite a bit of meditation and mental stealing and preparation just to get on camera. So if I don't have, like, if there's like a last minute call, like somebody comes up to me and says, "Hey, I need another person for this panel in an hour," I'll oftentimes say no if I haven't mentally prepared myself already for being on camera. And fortunately, when Star reached out to me today, I was already mentally preparing for a while to be on camera earlier in the day because I
You
was going to be
see.
streaming. So I had already gone through a lot of the mental steeling and preparation and conditioning to go on camera. So by the time she came to me 2 hours before this happened, I was like, sure, why not? I'm okay.
Okay, I
with it.
have a weirder question. So dysphoria is often presented as, I look at myself and I am not the way I'm supposed to be, and that hurts me.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's basically what I deal with.
And I think I view it as, I look at myself, and when I see myself, that hurts me, and I want to be not myself. I want to be seen differently.
For me,
You
it's
see the
more,
difference?
I feel this, like when I've internally analyzed my own dysphoria, most of what I end up feeling is in terms of why I have like the fear of reflective surfaces and such, comes from a, like, what I see doesn't match, right? It's like it doesn't look like me, and it looks very confusing.
Yes,
and it startles me oftentimes when I walk by, like if I see my reflection out of the side side of my eye, it kind of startles me because I think it's somebody else.
Yeah, we both agree that you don't feel you're supposed to look the way that you naturally look.
Mm-hmm.
But Mike, what I want to draw your attention to, and I'm going somewhere with this, is it possible that the relief that you feel by changing how you look is not that now you look right, but it's that now it makes sense that you don't look the way you are. You get what I'm saying? Like you still don't look like yourself, but you have taken control of that and intentionally made yourself not look like yourself. So the dysphoria can still be relieved, and through like this back channel way of you shouldn't feel like you look like yourself because you've changed how you look now.
No, I just feel like, well,
no, I know you're not gonna. I know you're not gonna agree with this. But what I'm curious about is if a trans person put on blackface, a trans white person, would it be possible for them to relieve their dysphoria? Or what effect would it have on their dysphoria if they changed their racial appearance versus their gender appearance? I would be very interested to see what that would be like, or to hear what it would. I would be interested to see what it would look like, obviously, but I'd be interested to hear what it would feel like to change your racial appearance and see like how you feel about mirrors after doing that.
Yeah, I've often wondered this as well, but I don't personally know anybody who's transracial, not to the point of altering their physical appearance anyway.
Well, why don't you just try it?
Me? No, yeah. I have no interest in that. I am not. You're
not curious?
No, because
you don't want to be my little lab bunny.
To me, race, like, I don't like essentializing it to that degree.
Wait, Zonia.
It doesn't make any sense.
You said you wanted to talk.
Well, yeah, but you're telling me to do something that I don't understand.
Here's my prop. We don't have to understand our experiments. We just do things. Here's my proposition.
I want
you to turn off all the cameras in your house, and then I want you to put on blackface and a wig, a blackface, a black wig, black outfit, everything. And I want you to get on a Discord call with me, voice only, and then you turn on the lights, and I want to interview you about how you feel seeing your own reflection.
Oh no, I'm already frightened.
The fuck did I come
that
back
would
here?
frighten the
Zonia, if you need permission,
it frightens me too.
If you need permission, you can do brown face. I won't be offended. So
yeah, sure. You don't have to be black. You can be Indian. Whatever makes you most.
Well, Star knows that I appropriate the hell out of her parents' culture. So
go ahead. I appropriate white culture every day. So
I want to see how you feel.
That makes no sense to me. Like, even as an experiment, it just sounds yikers.
Well, that's
like,
of course,
not yikers in the good way, yikers in the bad way.
It's yikers in both ways. But my point is, it will help us to see how much of being transgender is wanting to move toward the idealized image of how you feel you're supposed to be versus wanting to move away from how your body is naturally. And so if you put on blackface and you say like, wow, I don't mind looking at myself in the mirror at all, that
No,
would be
even the
really
thought
mean.
of it,
That would
even the
mean a
thought
lot
of it
to
frightens me
it would mean a lot to me.
because it
Well,
seems
it would be frightening
super.
because it would discredit and sort of dissolve some of your narratives about yourself and your identity, which would be a
No,
terrifying
to me
experience.
it's frightening because it's like it's something that like I can't even empathize with, right?
Yeah,
Like
I know. That's why it's perfect.
I
It's if you felt transracial, it wouldn't be a good experiment. The point is to see if changing your race has any effect on your dysphoria, or if you still feel dysphoria, that would be meaningful too.
so
The experiment is about, is dysphoria an urge to escape, or is it an urge to go to? Are trans women
dysphoria
escaping maleness, or are they
dys,
going toward femaleness? What is the difference?
dysphoria is sort of the condition, right? It's the affliction in a way.
Yes, but
What
what is the
I
nature
do, the
of
way
the
that
affliction?
the way that I dress and style myself is alleviating that dysphoria.
I
So the
understand that, but
dysphoria is not about.
we don't know why
Can
it is
I
alleviating, or I
can I
don't know
ask a
why.
question?
I can't. Well, before you go, Chaeiry, there's one thing I'm going to say. I actually kind of do like. I'm paler than I normally would be, to some degree. Although the lighting doesn't really help right now because I need
I
to redo my
want
white balance.
I
But
want
I'm actually
deep
very pink the way that I
I want
look, and
I want Wesley
use
Snipes.
I use
Yeah,
I
don't
I
bring
want
it
use
back.
deep dark. I
foundation
don't
and I
want
use
no pale,
concealer
no, I don't
to
want nothing. I
reduce
want
the
concealer.
pinkness of my skin because I'm very, very red. I'm very
I want an
Irish
afro,
descended, right?
and I want
And
dark chocolate skin. And I want to interview you, seeing yourself like this, and see how you feel.
I feel
Mr. Girl,
like
do you
dark
think
chocolate
that
is a big jump. You should let her start with milk chocolate.
Mr. Girl, do you think that we could induce dysphoria in you if we did something similar? Like, let's say you were like
That's a
that
good
for like
point.
this is
a
a fair
month,
question.
right? So you put on this makeup, you woke up, kept your eyes closed, and you went somewhere. They put on this makeup and the wig, and you were like that for a month. Right?
I've actually had
And
this
eventually,
experience already.
can you explain how it like how it went?
Yeah.
Sultana?
So I can give you a couple. I have a lot to say suddenly, a lot more.
Go for it.
I made a video called America's New Dad. And for the video, I digitally aged myself. And then and I talked, I'd say like wholesome stuff about politics. There's 3 videos, and the weirdest one is the second one. It's about like who to vote for. I think it's called America's New Dad Endorses a Candidate. It was right before the 2020 election. And so I digitally aged myself. So I look probably like 65 or 70, maybe even like 75, something like that. And then it was like this long process, but eventually I got it. So I had all my clips were all of me digitally aged, and then I edited it. So in the editing process, I was looking at myself at age 70 for like, I don't know. I think I did the whole thing in one day. So I was editing for like 6 hours or 8 hours or something. And then I'm also in the video as my current age. And then when I like imported that clip, I was like, Jesus fuck, I look young. I was like, this is so weird. I had already acclimated to the idea that like I am 65. And then when I saw myself at 35, I was like, I look like a little kid. It was so strange. And then even like going to the bathroom and looking in the mirror, I was like surprised at my own face. So I think if you put makeup or prosthetics on me, I think at first it would be like, oh, this isn't me. And then I think eventually it would feel like, oh, this is me. And then if you took them off, when you took them off, I think that's when I would feel a dysphoria.
So
Because you don't feel.
you think we could induce dysphoria in you if we did that
Yes.
for a long
Yeah,
time?
because I think a normal person doesn't feel dysphoria when you add something to their face. I think it would be once they think that is their face, and then you take it out. It's like getting your braces taken out. It feels
Yeah,
you're like my fucking mouth doesn't feel right anymore. But you don't feel dysphoria when you put them in because you're like, well, these are braces in my mouth. Of course, it feels weird. It's not my mouth.
dysphoria is a much deeper thing, I think, because it's not something that goes away over time with kind of just getting used to and adapting to it. Whereas you take your braces out, it feels really weird for quite a long time, but eventually you get back to the normal, to it being your normal feeling of your mouth.
Yeah, I'm not. I understand it's
Now,
not to the
Mr.
same
Girl,
severity
so
or
like,
persistence.
wait, so if you had that experience, right, and you went out into public, and people were speaking to you and referring to you as an old person, right, as a
Yeah.
70-year-old, and that happened every time you went out in public, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you feel like this would become like a long-term condition? Like you would feel like you're the way that you look is not the way that you're supposed to be. You're supposed to look like you did in that video.
I don't think you need to draw much of an analogy for me to have the experience of lots of people talking to me as though I am a certain way or a certain thing that I don't think that I am. That I have that experience pretty regularly. So
No, I think it's different if we're talking about like age or race or gender, right? Because there are expectations that come along with.
By the way, you guys, I put on a banger show. Please subscribe. Thank you so much.
What
Say,
you're
would it be
talking
a
about is people
long-term
typically assign like a specific behavior to you.
If you don't want me to continue to deafen.
something
And
like that.
but that's
for
like a
example.
specific behavior, not really like
Okay. So your analogy,
Yeah.
they say that everybody treats me like I'm 75, but I'm not actually 75.
Yeah, but whenever you went out into society, you were treated this way.
I don't think I don't think that would ever lead me to believe that I'm actually 75 though. I would think so if I had persistent dysphoria, like the feeling of my braces getting taken out, but 100 times worse to a terrifying degree and permeating like all my thoughts to the point where I want to like I'm fucking like Zonia covering up my reflective surfaces in my house. I would think that is on me to confront that. So I guess my theory in the experiment is that transitioning is an escape from that rather than that the feeling is that you shouldn't be you or that you don't want to be you and you don't want to be in your body, and the solution is to escape to a different body. And I feel, and having talked to and thought about like trans people a lot, that kind of like jives with my experience of them, is that it's discomfort and terror and shame that drives them out of the assigned gender at birth, not so much identification as the other gender. I believe. Sorry.
There's
Go ahead.
something else there, though. Like in my case, and now I'm not speaking for all people with dysphoria, but in my case, I don't recognize the person and the features in the mirror. So this is something that's never, like, I always felt like the person that I saw in the mirror was somebody else, and it always used to freak me out, especially when I was a kid, because I would look into my eyes and I would wonder, like, what is that person thinking? Right?
Yeah, that I definitely believe that you've had some kind of deep personalization, or some kind of like something happened to make you feel that way. I get that's my take on it. And so again, my stance is that, or belief is that you feel better if you are female presenting because then you are taking ownership of not looking the way that you expect to or are supposed to look.
Maybe word that differently.
It's like you're taking control of the dysphoria. Like if I look at my face, and I feel like I'm older, or like my hairline is receding, or like my beard is turning gray, or like I've got lines on my face that aren't supposed to be there. But then if I put on like clown makeup or like a hat or something, then like I don't have that anymore because I It's still not my face, but it's something else that I chose, and I'm putting it on, and I'm taking control of it, and I don't have to deal with like the existential dread of getting older. I can just cover it up. Versus the claim that most trans people make, which is that I feel that I'm supposed to look this other way, and I'm going towards that rather than going away from myself.
Well, like in your case, you would be aging, and so the face that you've been familiar with, it looked a certain way to you, and over time you start to see lines and such. It's usually a slow adaptation, but some people feel it more aggressively than others.
Yeah, I'm not
and choose to
comparing
do
that part of it.
surgeries.
I'm comparing the
But-
the discomfort with looking at oneself and how that is resolved. And I feel I believe that most, or maybe all, trans people are uncomfortable with their bodies and want to just change to any different body. And changing gender is a way to
Depends on the
drastically do
trans
that.
person.
Guys, reminder that every sub helps me continue to do this. This takes a lot of work to put together. So when you donate subs, I really appreciate it. It really helps me. Thank you so much.
Makeup is the same thing. I think being trans is just like a lot of makeup.
Right, but then I don't understand how that makes sense to you, because if that were the case, right, why wouldn't they just go out and get a bunch of tattoos and like do extreme body modification? Like
They do.
horns
It's
on,
the same shit. Lots of
and
trans people have
fork their
tattoos and
tongue.
body modification.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
I
but they
think-
don't. But they don't
I
need to
think
be
that shit is
trans
the
too,
same.
right? There are
I
plenty
think
of
that it's the-
people.
I think it's the same shit.
No, it isn't. So if
I
all
think
the
that it is,
problem
Dooby.
is
I
they
think
want
that
their
it
body
is.
to look differently, and they have an extremely easy way to make their body look differently, without needing to go through HRT, without all the societal expectations, without people treating them like shit. If they could do all that just by visiting a tattoo artist a few times a year, why wouldn't they just do that?
They do. Those are the people who get sleeves and tattoos on their faces and covered in
that's
tattoos and shit.
ridiculous.
Well, tattoos, it's not ridiculous. You can disagree
It
with
is
me.
ridiculous.
N-
I disagree with you because it's ridiculous.
Hold on, there
Dooby,
there
Dooby?
definitely are people with body
Just a girl.
dysmorphia who tattoo their skin.
you can disagree with me that you can say it's ridiculous or whatever, but yeah, tattooing your skin is body modification, and
Sure.
taking HRT is body modification, and getting gender reassignment surgery is body modification. And so if you think of it my way, you'll just see that it's just more extreme versions of fucking combing your hair.
Wait,
Uh,
okay,
Mr.
so
Girl.
if
Exceedingly
this,
more and more
so
extreme.
if we're gonna go with your way of thinking, so if you're
Yes.
saying that their discomfort with their body is so extreme, right, that rather than go get a face tattoo, they've opted to take a bunch of medication and go to therapy and deal with all the social stigma that comes with being trans. It's so extreme that they'd rather do all that than go get a tattoo on their face. What's the functional difference here? Right. So
Well,
it
if you
doesn't seem like you can top them.
no, you said you're gonna accept my way of thinking. The way I'm thinking is that it's on a spectrum, as you know. I'm gonna say this.
Yes.
So combing your hair, putting on makeup, getting a tattoo on your arm, getting a tattoo on your face, forking your tongue. This is the amount of different person you see when you look in the mirror. That's what this graph is, right? So if you have a tattoo,
Okay.
you're like, oh, yeah, I'm a guy with a tattoo now. Look at me go. Turning into a fucking woman is way over here. Changing your name, changing how you talk, changing how you walk, changing how you move, changing your driver's license. You're basically becoming a different person. You can't say, why don't you just get a tattoo on your face instead of becoming a different person? And I think that the narratives about gender being this immutable thing in our brains allow people to more gracefully do this. It would be very weird for me to get prosthetics and take hormones to turn me into a different man and then be like, I'm Greg. And I want everybody to call me. I wouldn't really have a compelling explanation. I wouldn't really have a compelling explanation for why people.
Yeah, you're the
So-
same person. Is
You're
what.
the same person. You've just modified your body in a way that makes you more comfortable living within it.
I
right?
believe that transitioning is an attempt to turn into a different person.
Well, that doesn't make any
Can I
sense.
ask a question?
You
Do
can't
you
say it
think
doesn't
that-
make any sense. You could disagree with me.
It makes
but
it makes negative 10 cents, okay? Because I don't think any of these people, went in the process of going through the transitioning.
Nobody is no. I don't
they're
think they think that they're doing
internally
that. I
becoming a
think the only
different human
trans
being,
person I've ever
right?
talked
The
to who
same
think who
personality. Okay, well then what do you explain?
Let's let
Because it
Dooby.
really does make any sense.
I
Okay.
believe that it is a unconscious desire to turn into somebody else.
Would you say that about people who get tattoos?
Yes.
Well, then
Can
what's
I
the
would say
point?
that about people who
Then
Let
buy
me
what's the
fucking
point of
ask
saying that?
something. Okay,
Go for it, Chaeiry.
take one person, Mr. Girl. When they are insecure, let's say they grow up and they become confident. Do you consider those two different people?
No, not in the sense that I'm using the
How
term.
about this?
No.
Girls who have a glow up. Girls who like
Yeah.
girls who
Yeah,
who
yeah,
s-
yeah,
s- go from
yeah.
being nerdy
try-
to putting makeup on and doing all the
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
things.
You want to.
Do you
want to-
choose which one is the correct person?
do I choose, or does the person?
Yeah, like you, that individual, they were insecure. Years later, they gained confidence. They probably act
I think
differently.
that I want to go back to your argument about transracialism. We don't need an extra
Mhm.
category. We don't need to say, "Am I me or am I that person?" So, am I me before I started lifting weights, or am I me now? Who's the real me? Neither, both. I'm a guy who used to not lift weights, and then I started lifting weights.
So
And I
then
changed my body.
when I wear makeup, there's nothing really changing in me, correct?
You are a person who wants to look different from how you do without makeup. So you're both. I would
Okay,
say
but
that
she's still the
I would
Are
say
you the
that I would say
clothes
that
that you wear?
you are applying something to your body that is stuck on your body rather than actually
It
transforming
doesn't
your
change.
body.
It doesn't change anything about me.
Can
though,
I ask
right?
a question?
but you
Can I
said-
ask a question really quick? Mr.
Yeah.
Girl, would you say wearing clothes changes who you are or changes an aspect of who you are?
Sure.
Okay. So by your same argument, we could take the makeup thing, right? We could take
Yeah.
the same argument for makeup and say that, well, anybody who's wearing clothes is kind of diluting who they are because who they are is not their clothes.
No, you're applying a value judgment to any change of self. And I'm not making that value judgment. What I'm saying,
Okay.
the only graph I'm drawing is extremity. How extreme is it? I don't even have I don't personally, if you want to get a tattoo, to escape yourself or escape your pain, like we all do things to escape ourselves, escape our pain, escape our bodies. Life is horrible and we're going to die for no reason. So it makes perfect sense that people want to escape their bodies. That's not mysterious to me at all. It's a question of how far are you willing to go to do that versus how much can you stomach being you? And I'm not saying that stomaching being yourself to the most extreme degree possible so that you are naked, meditating and staring at yourself in a mirror 24 hours a day. I'm not holding that up as like what I do or the ideal. I'm just saying that as you go further out, I see all of these things in a line. So yeah, combing your hair, wearing clothes, whatever. Putting on makeup is a little further, and putting on a bra versus a sport bra that pushes your boobs up is yet further.
Push-up
And
bra.
then a push-up bra, the Wonder Bra. And then as you go further and further, wait, what's the Victoria's Secret one?
It's just called a push-up bra.
IPEX.
Oh, okay. You
Yeah.
know more than me.
That IPEX shit. And then as you go further out, you start to get tattoos, body modifications, forking your tongue, and then turning into a fucking woman.
Can I
think is way out there.
Can I tell you something that you sound similar to in a different argument? The argument against advancing technology. It's this belief that the human existence is dependent on suffering. So
Yeah.
any technological advancement that we are doing is
Again,
making the human race
I'm not placing a value
Relevant.
judgment. I'm not saying that
But
you shouldn't trans.
let me
reconcile this.
Just let me finish my point real quick.
know,
Otherwise, I sound like a
Well,
crazy
yeah, let
person,
her finish. Let her
Mr. Girl.
finish. Yeah.
You're basically saying that the way that you were born, the way that you look now, any improvements to it, you are being further removed from like what you value as a human being. And I think anything that isn't from like ground zero, isn't from the start, is not like, doesn't make you less human, or doesn't make your existence less valid or real. And I feel like for you, it does make it less valid. Like
No,
fixing or
motherfucker, that's
adjusting.
not what I said.
Okay,
me
it's not what you
say
said.
what's
That's why I
I have
said
to-
that what I feel is that's what's
Well,
coming across.
Okay, then let me clarify, because I fucked
Okay.
up if that's how you feel. So let me explain it.
Okay.
1, I'm not placing a value judgment right now. We are aware that I have value judgments, and I will place them as you want if you want me to. But that's not my point right now. 2, okay, so I guess the value judgment would be, am I working out because I want to feel my body is beautiful, or am I working out because I hate my body and I want to change it? To me, those are different, and they both are coexist, and again, it's another spectrum, and they're intermingling, and it's complicated. But I feel like they should both urges and feelings can be identified, and I wonder which is more the driving force in dysphoria, if one of them is. And then 2, in gender dysphoria specifically, I mean. And then 2, I'm not saying you shouldn't transition. If you hate your body and you hate your identity, and if you see things the way I do, and that makes you want to transition, and that gives you what you need to stomach the awfulness of life, then I understand that. Like, I'm not trying to make an argument against transitioning right now. My argument is more that I want to acknowledge what's actually happening when people transition. I do not agree that it is an inner butterfly that is blossoming and that it is an act of self-love. I think it is an act of escaping some break in your relationship with yourself, or escaping death, or escaping existential dread. And those are all things that we all want to escape, and we all do it in all different ways. And it's not
Okay.
it's not a value judgment.
Wait, but
But
how
compared-
isn't it? But how
Wait,
isn't it a
shut
butterfly?
up, Dooby.
Listen,
He's trying to
That
correct my
actually-
feelings about what his
Oh,
statement
God.
is. So now I'm trying to adjust it according to what
But
he has clarified.
So
I feel-
compared to what trans people say about themselves, it certainly sounds like a value judgment. I agree with that.
Okay, so if my feelings are adjusted now to what you're clarifying, you're not against transitioning. You are sort of just
I'm
trying
against
to get.
transitioning. I am against transitioning. That's
Okay,
just
then why
not
did
what
you
I'm
just said
talking.
that you're not? Okay.
I'm saying I'm not trying to make that argument right now.
Okay.
Me saying I'm against tattooing. I'm against makeup. I'm against all of the shit I'm talking about. And so transitioning is just an extension of that, and I'm against all of them. I'm not particularly against transitioning, but I also understand it. I'm against alcohol, but if somebody says like, I can't fucking handle it, man, I want to kill myself, I need a drink to take
And
the
you're
edge off.
against alcohol. Do you like anything that's fun, Mr. Girl?
I like The
I don't
Last
drink
of Us.
alcohol.
I like video
Last
games.
of Us? Oh,
I like
okay.
good
video
game.
games. I like porn.
That's
I
bad.
like
It's a good-
Based.
I like
What kind of
I like-
porn?
Actually, I was
What's your
talking about this with
category?
I was talking about this with Shaylin today. I look at all different kinds of porn, minus one.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. What's the
Yeah,
one?
clown porn is not healthy.
Yeah, it's called
Excuse you?
ICP for CP for short, but the long version is clown porn.
Do you watch
Ah.
midget porn?
Mhm.
I
have
have
watched
yeah.
one.
I
yeah.
identify as a
I've
clown. I
watched-
don't
I've watched a
appreciate
few.
that. Are you against fish costumes, Mr. Girl?
I am a am I if you're gonna put on a fish costume and then tell me that I am a bigot if I don't think you're a fish, yes.
Have you ever masturbated to completion while watching like bestiality porn?
I would prefer not to get that detailed into questions about my porn
Oh,
history.
that's a
Yeah, don't
Jeez.
answer a frog for that question.
I mean, if we're
define
gonna
Oh,
talk
yeah.
about it, right, it's kind of important. So
Are you a furry, Mr. Girl?
am I a furry? I was
Am I a furry? I'm not the
We
fucking
already know
frog.
Dooby
No,
is.
no, I
Frog's
am furry,
Zonia.
but I'm not a
frogs
furry.
aren't furry.
Are you
True.
against furries?
Not you mean in the same way? No, because furries don't actually believe they're animals for the most part. They know that they're dressing up like a dog so they can like jerk off, and then right after or have sex or whatever, and right after they come, when that post nut clarity hits, they're like, "I'm not actually a dog, guys.
No,
I was just saying I was
they
because I was
know that
horny."
they know that they're not a dog, but they still continue wearing that outfit because it makes them feel comfortable, right?
Yeah, I'm again, I'm not anti-avoidance
Mhm.
in a general sense. I think that being a furry is
I thought
less
you were
avoidant than being trans.
It seems like you're
Well, being a
like
furry
opposed to.
is a full body
Well,
suit.
there are I would say
Yeah.
there's more honest like Zonia strikes me as a pretty honest trans person. Like at the when Zonia
Oh,
talks
thank you.
about her yeah, when Zonia talks about her relationship with her body, she's not saying like um I always knew I was really a girl. That to me that I don't believe that. But she talks about it more the way I imagine a furry would have, just like I just am more comfortable this way. And if you know, but I also think a furry is most furries I assume are not like I have to cover up all the mirrors in my house to hide my disgusting human ape body and a real like I you know like I'm only comfortable once I'm a dog. I've not heard that. I think it's a like I enjoy this and it's fun, which feels healthier to me, but could be done for the same reasons.
So wait, are you
So
against wearing
There's
makeup?
there's no way to escape death though.
regarding
Like
regarding
sorry.
the like always felt like a girl thing, I mean there was always a gender incongruence with me going back to like my earliest memory of it was when I was 3. But part of it, it's hard to pin it down because there were other conditions at the time that are a little difficult to explain in a public forum like this, right? Because I don't want to
Understood.
talk about, you know,
Sure.
there are certain things that I
Whatever
want
you
to
don't
talk
want to
about
talk
in a
about.
public forum. So
Absolutely.
I can say that at the age of 3 was the first time that I started becoming very, or at least to my memory, becoming more acutely aware of the incongruence with the way that I saw myself and the way that it was reflected back on me by others. And there were certain behaviors that I engaged in that were frowned upon and pushed back on. And as soon as it was kind of discovered that I was engaged in those behaviors, it was kind of um, there was something. It's hard to say so much without having without getting into territory that I don't want to talk about.
Yeah,
So
then just don't. That's a lot of terror to live with for a very long time.
it wasn't terror. It was just that
Well,
there was the
anxiety
wall
or
there
discomfort.
pushing me back. But yeah, and so if I were to say that I always knew I was a girl, that would be incorrect, I think, because I didn't understand the concept at the time.
Yeah.
When I started actually coming to associate the feelings that I had and the negative feedback I was getting from society with gender, that was probably around like age 6-ish or so. Um, my parents were pretty like they were kind of hippies, right? So I don't think they really were like they weren't trying to push me into any kind of a gender bucket, but it was like once I got out of the home and started experiencing more culture with like school and stuff like that, it was people there that were pushing me back into a gender bucket. So
Yeah.
that was where I started to get a lot of the negative feedback, started to associate it, and they'd say, "Only girls do that. Don't do that. Why are you hanging out with the girls? You're supposed to be with the boys," and all this kind of stuff. And I'm older too, so I'm in my 40s. So the time that I grew up, things were still much more gender segregated than they are today. So
Yeah.
the contrast was very clear and obvious for me.
And I think there are a lot of trans people you could talk to who also say that I know I was born the gender I was born, right?
I mean, one of the trans people I interviewed for my video series just said like uh, uh he's a trans man, but he was like, yeah, I know I'm really a woman. I just I I didn't want to face my trauma. I couldn't do it. I don't want to do it. This works for me, and it's just a way to like kind of blunt it and escape it.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dooby.
So I have 3 siblings. I have 2 sisters and now a non-binary person who used to be a sister, right? And I was talking to them about the non-binary thing because it's pretty recent, like the last few years. And they described it to me as like, they're in a gender studies class, and they were thinking about their gender and gender identity, and them and their partner, who they were lesbians before, both of them decided that they don't really fit with the gender of like woman. So now they now identify as like non-binary with like they them pronouns and whatnot. And that was weird first off, but then it got to me like thinking about my experiences with like my gender expectations. And I did start to wonder a little bit if this non-binary thing is a thing, why wouldn't I also be non-binary, right? Is it literally just me stating that I'm non-binary? Because there are lots of things that are like stereotypically feminine that I like. I like ice skating. I like musicals, right? I like my dogs are like little puppies, right? I like painting. I like doing little sculptures. I like lots of things that are like stereotypically considered pretty feminine, right? And then I got to thinking about like my childhood and about how these like societal expectations were pushed upon me by my father, who did it in
Why
a
do you
pretty
think
toxic.
painting and sculpting is feminine?
I don't, but I said stereotypically, right? When we think of like a painter or like someone who's making little
no.
sculptures, I think it's like a feminine thing. Maybe I'm incorrect, but that's
not.
my stereotype.
Historically, that's
incorrect.
the stereotype.
Yeah. So it got me thinking about like my upbringing, right, and how these social expectations were put on me. And I had a very like traditional father, right, who did this thing, was like, oh, if you cry, you're a bitch. I'll give you something to cry about. I got beat a lot. My father made me drown puppies. He made me watch videos of people getting like tortured and killed because the neighbor was like killed in a drive-by, and I cried when I was 11, and he thought it was me being weak. So
Can I ask you about the puppies?
Sure.
That was to make you more of a man.
Yes. So I was about I was like 5 or 6 years old. And we had a pit bull. Her name was Penny, and she had like 5 puppies. And I remember he called me outside, and he had like a dog food bag, like not one of the big ones, like one of the smaller ones. It's like a couple quarts or something. Like it was a pretty like small dog food bag. And he said that Penny didn't want the puppies. He didn't want to deal with selling them. So he told me to hold open the bag. He filled it with water, and then he lowered a puppy in and forced me to close the bag. And I was crying. I dropped the bag a couple times. I didn't want to do it. And he hit me, told me to do it, or I was going in the fucking bag. So eventually I did it, right? Lowered the puppy in. I held it closed until it drowned. And then he lowered another one in. And we did that for all 5 of them. And I spoke to him about that, like, I think I brought that up when I was like 12. And he told me that it was because I had to be strong, right? He told me that all the shit he did, like, because he was the kind of person where if I complained at all, I was being a bitch. Right? He's like one of those kind of dads. So if I stubbed my toe, he'd stomp my foot. If I made a sound, or if I cried or something. Remember once I was in the backyard, and my uncle got me like a plastic BB gun, and I shot it, and it bounced off a rock and hit me in the arm, and I like yelped. So in response, he took the gun and he like broke it over my arms. Right? Like my father was very strange. And he'd make me hold my arms out, right? And he hit me over the arms with it, and then he told me to lift them up again, and he did it again, and the entire time it was like, don't cry. Don't cry. So, and I thought of like what that taught me about gender, and the way that I thought about masculinity. And I thought about times in my life where I had like male friends who cried about something, and it made me really fucking uncomfortable about things that are totally reasonable to cry about. Like a friend going into the hospital or something. And I started to wonder, like if I hadn't had that experience, would I be as set in my gender as I am today? And it made me wonder if like other guys have this kind of like this question, right? If you were a young man and you like musicals a little too much or some shit, do you ever like question that you're a man and start to think that you might be a woman, or like?
You think those experiences made you more set in your gender?
I think so. In a
Because you're
strange way.
terrified. You're terrified to go outside the lines.
No, it drew like very strong lines around what a man was, and a lot of it is very toxic. Like I'll admit this. Like I have a lot of trouble with like toxic masculinity.
Well,
I have
yeah,
a lot
that
of
men
trouble being
drown
like,
puppies.
yeah.
Like,
I
it's
have a lot of
obviously-
trouble like
it's a weird role model to have.
yeah, I have a lot of trouble like expressing vulnerability and like emotions and that kind of shit is
Yeah,
And-
it's literally been beaten out of you.
yeah. So and that makes me wonder, is like because I've spoken to the guys about this kind of stuff, right? And they tell me they've had similar experiences. Nothing like actually a couple people have had like similar extreme experiences. But most guys I've spoken to had like, the traditional dad who would tell them not to cry or rub dirt in it if you start bleeding, that kind of shit. And I was
Wait, rub
wondering,
dirt?
Mr. Girl, yeah, if you like
Okay.
cut your arm, rub dirt in it, that
I
sort of
don't
shit.
think that's not traditional, but your baseline is super skewed. But my
Well, what I was
my-
going to ask
my-
you is if you
yeah.
had like a similar upbringing or like what your father was like.
My father was more manageable than your father, but he would scream at me and in a rage chase me around the house and pinch me when he was angry. I remember in the car like trying to move my leg so he couldn't grab me and pinch me. But it was there seems to be like a lot of sadism in your stories, and I think that my father
I used to
was
see it
more
like that, but I don't think I do anymore.
okay. I guess yeah, that's just how it comes across at
Yeah.
first.
I think I see it as more as like in a very strange way, like training. And I have a very weird relationship with my father. I don't see
Like
very much.
he's
It's
doing it
more
out
like-
of fear, like he's trying to
no, like
so-
so he's told me a little bit about his upbringing, right? And it was very similar, in some ways
Sure.
worse. He
Yeah.
told me that his father, whenever he was in trouble, his father would wrap him up in a carpet and beat him with like the old big seatbelts, the big metal ones. He like hit him with that, in the carpet whenever he got in trouble, and leave him out there for hours like that. So I don't like, dislike him for it or whatever. I understand this is what he was taught, and in the way that he always expressed it to me, it usually wasn't anger. It was like very stone-faced, like training sort of shit. Like he thought that he was like teaching me something about being a man. Very strange. But yeah, I don't know. I figured. Now,
there's no my father would just lose his temper. There was no pretense of it being good for me. I mean, I remember in the high school him directly saying, I'm not screaming at you because I'm trying to help you. I'm screaming at you because it makes me feel better. So there's like this dual self-awareness, and then could turn into a joke, and then like a lot of times we got along and we're close in other ways. So it was like, as long as you don't cross certain lines, I think that's part of how I learned to read people, or at least think I can read people, was just like a survival thing of having to be very attuned to my father's emotional state and then kind of manage it to make sure he wasn't going to like blow up at me. Which it sounds like with your father would have been completely impossible.
Yeah. Well, sort of.
I mean, if you yelp when a BB hits you, he hits you over the arm like that. I don't think there's any way to. The only thing you could do is like shut down your own emotions, which it seems like it is what you did. to some degree.
Yeah. You ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street, like the old ones?
Yeah.
There's a scene that I remember seeing as a kid where Freddy Krueger, he's in like in his human form, right? And he's supposed to be like a teenager. And he's in the boiler room in the basement, and his father comes down screaming at him and starts beating him with like a belt. And Freddy just starts laughing, right? And he starts saying, there is no pain, right? There is no pain. And his father starts like to get scared. I remember when I was a kid repeating that to myself over and over and over again, right? Whenever I knew that I was going to get hit about something. Right? Just there is no pain. And eventually you just stop reacting to it. Like I just learned not to show it. Which
How old
I
are
think
you?
I'm 33. I think it's been really helpful for me in my life, actually. I think there's been a lot of times where that ability to kind of disconnect has made it extremely easy for me to deal with stressful situations.
Do you have the ability to reconnect?
Yes. I'm really good at empathizing with people, I think.
With yourself?
Yes, I think so. I think my issue is just like expressing vulnerability, I think. But I try to, right? I try to like open up to people and shit. It's just I don't know, it's awkward. It makes me uncomfortable. But I don't know. I was just wondering if you had like a similar experience, because some of the mannerisms that I'm like seeing in you, maybe I'm like misreading it as like this ability to read people, right? Is something that I think I developed really early from that.
Yeah.
Maybe you got it a different way.
I think I mean, it's also kind of passed down to me. My father can read people pretty well. My grandfather could as well. So I think some of it's empathy, or I guess some of the empathy is like caring about other people, and some of it's fear and learning to quickly clock other people and how they're feeling just out of self-preservation. They feel intermingled.
Yeah, I think so. You said something that really connected with me a while back. I forget if it was like one of your talks, one of your videos, or something. But it was about empathy, right? And I think it had to do with like pedophiles and why this was like a sticking point for you. And you said something like, that you wanted to build empathy with people, and that you felt that if you could build empathy for pedophiles who were like universally hated, you could build empathy for anybody, right? Like people could learn to empathize with anybody.
Yeah, I think that I'm a bit stuck on the topic because it's like it's the group of people that we're all okay with hating. So that makes me want to say like, and to humanize them and to make it so that we're not okay with
Yeah, and I totally understand
just
that.
hating them.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, because the reason it like stuck with me is it's kind of what I've been trying to do in my community for the last like, I want to say I've been trying to do it like my entire life, but that's not really true. I think the first time I've had a chance to actually like engage in this specific thing is with my community on Discord for the last like 4 or 5 years or so, because there are a lot of people within this community who are like kind of social rejects, outcasts, people that kind of get dismissed as like, oh, you're a racist, you're a Nazi, you're whatever the fuck, right? And people don't try to empathize with them. They just kind of stick a label on them, dismiss them, and as a result, these people kind of get like stuck in this place as this thing because nobody ever bothers to speak to them as a human being. Yeah, and that really connected with me.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like that. This thing on Twitch where if you talk to somebody, then they rub off on you and you are smeared or you've platformed them. Like, how can we talk to people who need help or need to be talked to, or whose ideas are sort of like festering in like a weird echo chamber? How can we? No, they can't change if you're not allowed to talk to them.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like monopolize things. I was just kind of curious.
I'm sorry for staying out of it, but I've been having fun talking to my chat here and riffing off of what you guys are talking about.
Yeah. It's been a very good conversation. Sorry, didn't mean to overtake. So,
Oh,
Are you
you
apologizing
haven't been able
for
to speak
speaking
for a
on your own
while.
stream? What the fuck?
Yeah, legit.
I know, but
Weird.
still.
You go,
It's-
Queen.
I have a
Alright.
follow-up question, if that's okay. There's one thing that I am absolutely guilty of. In the mod team on my server, I have like 100 mods on my server, right? With like almost 60,000 members at this point. And one thing that I'm absolutely guilty of is empathizing too much, right? Being too merciful. If someone deserves to be banned, I will bend over backwards, right, to find a reason to dismiss behavior, to say, hey, this is a one-time thing. Oh, well, yeah, but you got to understand he had a bad day and yada, 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 right? And and it can be a good thing sometimes, because I've spoken to a lot of people who are like suicidal, and I've managed to like talk them down, right? I talked somebody out of like a mass shooting once, so it's been like a good thing. But
How'd you do that?
well, he was in the text chat on my server, and it was before Discord had like in voice chat audio. I'm sorry, video. So if you wanted to have like a call, you needed to like be in a group DM or like in a DM with somebody, and then they could like turn on the camera in the call, right? And he was in the text chat just talking about like being in front of a supermarket, and how he's gonna live stream himself shooting up the supermarket, and then he's gonna wait for the police to kill him, right? And he was gonna do it. He was already there, and he started DMing me to tell me that this was happening, right? This person was saying this. So I asked somebody to get me into the group DM, got me in, and he had his camera on. He was in front of the supermarket with a gun. It's like a really young looking guy. And so I tried to talk to him, and when he saw that I was there, he left. So I had to like privately call him over and over again until he answered the call, and then got on the camera again. And I was talking to him, and he was saying, this was it. And he was sick of this, and he always fucks up, and why is he like this? And so I spoke to him for like 45 minutes while he's in the parking lot in front of the supermarket, leaning against the car with a gun in his hand. And I eventually managed to talk him into walking home, putting the gun away in his pocket, walking home. And I talked to him the entire time there. And
How did you talk him into going home? What did you say?
I just try to talk to him about like how I remember focusing on how young he was, how this thing that happened where he had like fallen out with a friend, right? And the thing was he felt like anytime he had a friend, he fucked up and they left him, and everybody always left him, and he could never keep a friend. Nobody liked him, and his family hated him, and everybody hated him. So why even be around anymore? And he wanted to kill himself, but he's too much of a coward too. So instead he's going to shoot up a supermarket and wait for the cops to come, right? So I started talking to him about himself, like what he likes to do, what happened with a friend. He wouldn't really want to tell me details about that, but I got the impression that it was like a problem with like a woman or something. And I just started talking about like stuff that I've been through, and how I kind of worked through it. And yeah, over time he put the gun away, walked home. And I think because I've talked down a lot of people who are suicidal, right? And to me the key is always to like just let them know that you care, right? That you give a fuck. And make them feel like someone notices them for a little while, because I feel like that's really all it took.
How many times do you talk people down that are suicidal?
At least 2 or 3 times a month, over the last like 5 years.
From like your Discord server or like in real life?
His server
from
is
the Discord
very
server.
large. Yeah, very large server.
Yeah.
Okay, the server I
I've-
get. If it was just in real life, I was gonna be a little concerned.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it. I talk a lot of people down frequently as well, and I'm not even dealing with that many people, not as many people as Dooby is.
Yeah, it's I feel like people try to separate like online and real life, right, quote unquote. But I think the reality is, for a lot of people that spend a lot of time on Discord, on the internet, is this is where they get most of their social interaction, right? So to them, the friend group explosions, the arguments, the snubs, the blocking, that feels as real as your friends turning your back on you, in real life, quote unquote. And
Wait, are you saying my friends online aren't like real? Why
no,
would
I'm
you
saying
say
they
that?
are real. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that they are
Oh, okay.
real, and that people try to say that it's not the same, that it's not real. But I think people genuinely feel that way, especially if
It's realer.
especially with like COVID. Right? Most people are
Yeah.
getting like the majority of their social interaction on the internet, right? So that's just, I think it's kind of silly to say that it's not real, because it is. People definitely feel it the same way. So yeah, that kid, I talked him down, managed to get him to walk home, put the gun in the trash can outside, then get into bed, spoke to him for a little bit more. And then I told him to call me in the morning. And as soon as I got off the call with him, I called the FBI. And I managed to gather like some of the street signs and shit and the name of the supermarket. I called them, gave them all the information I had from the Discord server about who he was. And yeah, a couple of days later, a detective from New York called me on my cell phone, and they told me they found him as like a 17-year-old kid who was just, really struggling.
They called
Wow.
you back to give you an update?
Yeah, a detective from New York, because I'd sent them the recording of the call and all that stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, that's I don't know. I forgot what we're talking about, but no, I just think it is extremely important to empathize with people. That's why that really connected with me when you said that. I feel like not enough people do that. Too many people are just willing to write people off as being like dirty in some way because they said a certain thing, or you think they think a certain thing. Or even if they do believe that thing, you think they think it because they're like evil or something, and not because they just think the wrong thing, or they've been introduced to information that you don't have, or whatever. Right? They have different preferences, and the reasons that they have those preferences you could just talk them out of that shit. Like most of the time, for example, like most Holocaust scenarios, quote unquote, I've ever met on the internet are young guys who are convinced by like memes and infographics on like Pol. They don't know shit about the Holocaust. They don't know shit about Nazism. Right? They fall into this stupid echo chamber, these memes, and they think they know what the fuck they're talking about. And if you have the patience, you can definitely talk them out of that shit. You can walk them through it from point to point about why all this is wrong, everything they've been told is bullshit, and you can definitely pull them out of that. I've done it. I can't count how many times. And I'm not the only person who does this, right? Like I have a mock team on the server, like I said, over 100 people. Many of them talk people down from like suicide and deal with this kind of shit like all the time. So I don't know. I feel very protective of the community. And I wonder, Mr. Girl, if you feel protective of your community in that way, because your focus is empathizing with people and building empathy.
Yeah, especially because I have them calling me on my stream to talk about their feelings or lives. I do. And I think you made you make a good argument, or the story is just like a good story about how it's much more dangerous to not empathize with people than it is to empathize with them.
I agree. I think that's why I also reached out. Part of the reason, because I feel like
To me?
yeah, because I feel like most people are way too quick to demonize people that they disagree with over like the smallest things. And I remember when people could be friends across political aisles, and people could platform each other, without facing this crazy backlash, and people could understand each other on like a deeper level. So it's just kind of sad to see how quickly people and how enthusiastically people polarize themselves.
Yeah, and people have beliefs that are unintentionally driving it. Like a lot of lefties will for example, say, if someone has Nazi beliefs, that no one should talk to them. It's like, okay, now the only people that are going to talk to them are like the craziest fucking,
Yeah.
Nazi person they can
Or even
find.
if
It's
they
just going to get
had
worse.
Nazi beliefs, even if they had Nazi beliefs in the past, but they don't hold them anymore. Well, they did it in the past, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have a feeling everybody here would kind of agree with the idea that we shouldn't like ostracizing people just makes them go to other people who have been ostracized for similar reasons, people of like mind, and it creates they end up in their own echo chamber that reinforces those things with the additional bitterness and antagonism towards society that ostracized them in the first place. So it's not going to be beneficial. It's only going to make the problem worse. It'll fester, and it'll probably eventually break out of its confines to do something dangerous.
Yeah, like the video I made about Vosh was very critical and appealed mostly to right-leaning people. It's like after I made that, I got invited on a bunch of right-leaning streams, talked to, in some cases, very far right-leaning people. And every single one of them basically said, "You're the most pleasant left-wing person that I've talked to." They all know that I'm a Bernie supporter and pretty far left-wing, but just talking to them without assuming that they're, inhuman, basically, and just being willing to talk to them and hear them out on certain things seems sort of a prerequisite for actually changing anyone's mind. At the very least, just being able to engage in a civil conversation. And I had suspected that would be the case, but I was kind of surprised at seemingly how few of those conversations these people had had, right? It's like, well, perhaps if people are willing to just speak with them civilly, the probability that they would hold somewhat extreme views would be lessened, right?
I think
I,
like I agree with you guys, and I do find a lot of value in having spaces where you interact with people who think different than you, whether that be like your space or being able to hop on here like Stars panel. But I do find value in there being some like safe spaces to avoid conflict like this. Um, and I feel like if there were more available like safe spaces, or if there were actual content creators who, let's say, feel very strongly about not platforming someone like Mr. Girl, sorry to call you out, or somebody like fucking Dooby. And listen, how the fuck those people cope watching you and Dooby disagree and trying to figure out whose side that they would be on. I would enjoy watching that. But the fact that those people insert themselves and like their opinions into spaces like this instead of like actually forming safe spaces, I feel like hurts those communities that really do want a place like on Twitch.
Yeah, they can have a space. They can have a space. I just don't want it to be imposed on my space.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
instead of like creating that space, they want you to make us like that space for them, and that's where I'm not on board.
Stardust.
Yeah.
It means a lot to me.
I'm sorry?
Right. That you did
awkward
that.
silence.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. It means a lot to me that that you agreed to do that with me. So I really, really appreciate it. I feel
Well, it
like
wasn't that hard to agree to. I think it was harder for you to do it than it was for me to go along with it.
I don't think I could not do it. I think I empathize with you, and there was something about the message that you were giving that spoke to me on a different level. That these topics, obviously, like things like consent and things like rape and these hard topics that we talk about. I know they're not easy for you to talk about, and I know they're not easy for me to talk about, and I think that's why I empathized and I felt like I connected so much, because even though these things hurt us to talk about, we still do them. It comes from a place of hurt, but we still choose to go forward with that. So yeah, I really do appreciate that. So
I remember my question, actually. So I was laying out that I'm guilty of over empathizing with people, right? And not really knowing when to cut someone off. right? And in my context, it just means ban them from the community. And I literally hate fucking doing that. Because I've had people like literally cry at me and like DM calls about how they have no one to talk to, they have no other friends, and yeah, like it's awful, right? And I wonder, Mr. Girl, is there like a line for you, right? So for me, it's like doing malicious shit to other people, so like doxing, like spreading news around shit like that, right?
Yeah.
Like just intentionally, maliciously hurting other people. Is there a
Yeah.
line for you where you would need to like stop empathizing or cut someone off?
In this Discord server.
Just in your community generally, right? So if someone
Yeah,
came to you and
I
said,
mean the
"Hey,
community is based in a Discord server, so I would say the rules of the server are don't break the law, don't be under 18, and yeah, if somebody doxed somebody else for sure, they would get banned. I'm not that involved in the moderating of the Discord server, which I think might be a good thing because it would be hard for me to kick somebody out of the community, but I recognize the need to do that. So, you know, I have a mod team for that
so you
reason.
just like avoid doing it yourself, basically. You take it out of your hands."
Yeah, I like the decentralization of power.
Okay.
I think that like also because a lot of the people on the server really look up to me, I think that I have to take a step back from the actual like lording over them. I think it's too much.
Well, how tall are you? Can I ask your height? You don't have to answer. That's personal.
Yeah, I'll answer, but I have a rule. I did set this boundary with my chat that I don't answer questions about my body or talk about my body. But
Oh, okay. No, don't answer. Don't answer.
so since we're best friends,
Okay.
according to your stream titles,
You are my best friend.
yeah, I don't know if the rest of you know this, but without ever having spoken to Chaeiry, she started titling her streams things like "Mr. Girl is my best friend," and I would just like see it in my feed and be like, "This is super fucking strange," but very funny. I found it very funny, and then like your chat would get mad at you, and then like watching you fight with your chat
Furious.
over the title. What?
They were so mad every day.
Yeah, they were super.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching you fight with your chat and then
wasn't
continue
mad.
to do it was very funny. I'm 5'10" or 5'11". It's like 5'10" and a half.
Okay. Yeah, I would look up to you.
You already
Literally.
look up to me, motherfucker.
You're as tall as my father. Strange.
Why'd you have to bring it to the dad, dude? Why?
Because that's what he's thinking about.
Yeah. That's what I was
That
I
on the
know.
mind.
I know.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, really quickly, Dooby, because I was actually also an admin of a somewhat large server, not nearly as large as yours, obviously, but like 4,000 people. I had almost the exact opposite moderation policy of you. I was very quick to ban people, and that's because I encountered the same things over and over again. There's a certain kind of person who is, I would say, very toxic to the rest of the community, and there's a lot of different reasons that could be. But basically, I came to the conclusion that these people would always try and skirt the rules. They were usually the people that would ask about the rules the most often, so that they would know, exactly what they couldn't do, but they would do things
Yeah,
that are
the line
unhealthy.
steppers, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it got to the point where I would bet with people when someone started asking about the rules. I'll be like, we're going to ban that person in a week, because it just always happened. Everybody who would inquire about the rules always broke them, right? So the only way that I found to keep a healthy community was to be very liberal in banning people, because some of these people, if they had stuck around, everyone would have just left, right? Because they'll do things like sea lioning or just dominating conversations or spamming chat with nonsense. Or, I mean, any number of things that aren't, they aren't ban worthy most of the time, but they will sort of ruin a community. So I'm curious, how do you really deal with that? Because being very liberal with banning people is the only way I ever found to deal with it.
I mean, I don't know. I guess we built the server culture around shit talking, being okay with shit talking. People in the voice channels tend to be pretty aggressive. If you talk over them, they're going to talk over you too, and everybody's going to tell you to shut the fuck up without a mod even being there. It's very I don't know how to explain it. It's a very like I imagine the community is like a bar, right? And maybe this is because people tell me that a lot of times they come home from work and they get on the server and they're playing a video game, and until they're in bed, they're hanging out on the server, yelling at people about shit, right? About politics or philosophy or life or whatever the fuck, right? So it's kind of like a bar, like a virtual bar. And that culture of like banter, shit talking, abrasiveness is deep in the community. The servers is not for everybody. I think the people who would favor a more gentle, friendly space, there are channels for them there too. There's a spot for them there too, but they're far less they're far less common. Just because they, if you like a community where everybody's respectful all the time and nobody says what they really think because they're concerned about the rules and name calling, all this kind of shit. Now that there's a place for that. It's just not on my server usually. I think people are much more honest with each other about things they're passionate about when they can be loud and aggressive and call each other names if they feel the need to. Right, so long as the discussion is flowing and you don't become like bogged down like insults. So it's difficult, right? But I feel like we've managed to cultivate a pretty good community.
You guys have any tips? Yeah, I think Doomer, you sound a little authoritarian for me. I feel like do you enjoy banning people?
Nobody else, basically everybody else on the server had a similar philosophy to Dooby's, and the server was dying and people were leaving because there were
You
toxic
enjoy
people.
banning people?
No, I just felt that I had to. I was the only person who was
You feel
willing
bad
to do
about it?
No, I basically, if I was to set up a Discord server, I probably will soon. Like the first rule is basically going to be the health of the community comes before everything else. So
Yeah,
most people
I
won't
think that-
violate that.
Before you?
Yeah.
I mean, well, presumably I'm not against the health of the community if it's my Discord, right?
I would say that's probably the unspoken rule on my server that I see get enforced a lot is like don't do shit that can get the server banned.
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty much the only
that's
rule.
like
there's
it's basically like the line on my server too. Like Discord hates political servers in general.
Yeah.
Mine is like the largest and most active political server, and we get lots of shit from Discord.
All right. So how many people do you have?
It's
He has like
close to
60K.
60,000 right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just broke 1,000. And so I still have the same fantasies of like maybe we just did such a good job of setting the tone that we won't need blah blah blah. That's obviously gonna fall apart as more people join. And we have people joining specifically to try to get the server banned. That's
Yeah,
happening
that happens for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So-
like that's some of the more extreme stuff. But I was talking about not even TOS stuff, but like one of the biggest problems we had were that there would be someone, for example, that would join every single conversation and would never stop talking, even though they had no idea what they were talking about, right? And it sounds funny, and it sounds like, why would that be a problem? But like
Well, yeah, it's
half the
spam.
server
It's a
left over
problem.
this.
like verbal
Yeah.
spam.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very difficult to categorize that under an area that would make it ban-worthy, right? But I was
probably just
basically
ban
made
I'd
Call it
probably ban them from
stupid.
voice chat.
Well,
Well, it depends. So if they're just talking, like if they're actually trying to contribute to the conversation, but they're just not because they don't know enough. We've had some people like that. And what we usually mute them for a few minutes if we feel like they're derailing or they're disrupting, which is just for disrupting the flow of the conversation, right? And mute it for 10 minutes, explain what they did wrong in DM so they don't feel like they're being publicly like humiliated. And
Oh my God, you
then-
guys are such softies. I'm with Doomer on here. Listen,
Oh, God.
I ban people the second they call my cat fat. just like nip it in the butt. Make them fucking request unban or something
terrible.
I
like
think
that.
Okay,
it,
but
These
it
you're,
really
first of all,
depends.
right?
you're
Body
over-
shaming a
People
cat
shut down.
is pretty bad.
you're
I
too sensitive.
well,
No, I'm
here's
not too sensitive. My cat is sensitive. I'm just
You-
think
I
about
let
my
people,
I think you're too
actually,
sensitive to your chat. I
like
watch your
shit
shit.
talking me is is also a huge part of the server culture. Like most of the memes that are on the server are just shit talking me like constantly, and it's beautiful. And
it's
I think
gonna.
if you're gonna run a community, you have to be a little like, you have to have like thick skin. If you're gonna shit
I think it
talk you,
depends.
fine.
I think it depends on what the community culture is too. Like I used to
You're too
run
fucking sensitive.
No. I used to run a community that was like primarily like female dominated, and they were shitposty and they were trolls. They were like very toxic, but just in a different way than the typical like troll group. But we'd have pretty like you could tell pretty quickly if somebody jumped in and you knew they weren't like going to be a great fit for the community. And sometimes certain communities, I think, to make it a space that's friendly for specific people does require a little bit harsher of a moderation policy.
How does your
But
cat
yeah.
feel about Rubenesque?
I don't know what you just said. Ruben,
I
the
said,
sandwich.
how's your cat? No, Rubenesque. It's an old word. It's a euphemism. Portly?
For Dave
Are you
Rubin?
getting into bestiality right
Big
now?
ass cat.
No. Well, yeah. It's. I think it means large, but in a good way.
Yeah,
As long
it's
as
like
we're not
the
body shaming the
paintings.
cat.
Guys.
Like
It's
voluptuous or
from
something.
it's from the paintings by I don't know what the person. It's Ruben something. So
He's a normal sized cat, and I'm not sensitive, Mr. Girl. Don't ever
You
call me
are.
sensitive.
You guys both. Stardust, you get pretty pissed off your chat too sometimes. I feel like you guys both are.
I kind of play it
sensitive.
up. I kind of play it up when I'm with my chat. My chat knows that. Like honestly, like I've been on the internet for a while. I do play it up with my chat a little bit. Like I'll pretend to be offended by something, but yeah, not
Would
usually.
you ban somebody for criticizing you?
It depends on how they do it. So if they're constructive with it, if they give me actual feedback, then
Or they
no.
just say you're dumb.
If they say I'm dumb, it depends on the context, I think. I think it really depends on the context. So
I guess
Usually,
since my
like usually you fight with them when that happens, and you
yeah,
talk shit
usually I
back to
do.
them.
I talk shit
Yeah.
back to them, and then they'll start spamming the hydrate thing because they think it's funny. And it's like a we're waterboarding you thing. So yeah, it's funny, but also you guys are racist. You guys are very racist.
I guess just because my content's so provocative, I just assume
Yeah.
that like my own fans are going to constantly be like attacking me all the time.
You probably can't relate to me here, but most people watch me so that I yell at them. It's like a fetish that some people have.
I can understand that.
What
Like,
do you mean? Why?
I recognize the tone of the streamers. So like Chaeiry's,
Wait,
we
what do
all
you mean?
recognize kind of Chaeiry's tone, and we recognize Stardust's tone, and so we kind of know what's going on, even if it seems
See,
serious.
they're
or it
spamming
seems-
hydrate right now. It is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Do you see this?
What do you mean I can't relate to you, Chaeiry?
I'm just saying, I don't think people are coming to you to be yelled at. They
You
come
don't
to
think
you
people
to
are, you don't
yell
think
at
people are
you.
coming to me for some stepmother femdom?
I don't think
You
so.
don't think that's what they want?
No, if that's what if
Maybe a
that's the type of
stepfather.
audience you're trying to pull for, you aren't advertising correctly.
What? Oh, I see. What fetish do you think my audience is? What itch do you think I'm scratching with my?
Listen, please don't set me up for like the pedophile joke like this, okay?
No,
We're
I'm
best
not.
friends. Don't make me do you like that.
I know. I'm asking. What fetish do you think my content scratches? What itch do you think it scratches?
Consensual
My chat wants me to
non-consent.
die.
You're
Oh my
setting
god!
me
Did
up
you see
here.
my shirt?
I'm
No,
so-
it's your new shirt.
Take your panties off. Very nice. Very nice. Mr.
What
Girl.
color are they, Mr. Girl?
The hypothetical android panties?
No,
was
yours.
thinking-
Right
Oh,
now.
mine? You mean in this imaginary scenario, or my
In real life.
underwear right
no,
now?
like now.
I'm
Right
not
now.
answering that.
Okay.
I can't do that.
Damn, who's the uncomfortable one now? Jeez.
I'm
No,
not
just kidding.
uncomfortable. It's just a
Just joking.
boundary.
I'm
It's
just,
just
yeah,
a boundary.
I'm just joking.
I
I'm just
understand.
joking. I'm just
I
joking.
feel
Yeah.
like your audience comes to you for I think the empathy thing is really big, but I think a pretty large portion of them like to see you make other people uncomfortable. And it's like one of those cringe compilations, but it's like interactive. I think it's like one of those things, which is cool. I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's pretty.
Can
I
I
think
interrupt for a second? For just 1 second. Chat, if you guys want to fucking waterboard me, I need some fucking subs first, okay? I need you to fucking subscribe. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah,
Continue.
sub to Stardust. Sub to Stardust. Stop abusing her free of charge. Actually go and spend a little. Give her something to make it worth it. Come on, guys. We all love Stardust.
They don't. They want me
Dooby,
to
I
die.
agree that there is some psychosexual interrogation that my chat enjoys watching happen. But I will say that I think you know me mostly from Twitch, but I have a lot of content where that is not me making.
Yeah,
other
I've watched some
people
of them.
I guess I am making the audience uncomfortable, or myself, as Stardust pointed out, and I appreciate you pointing that out. A lot of my content makes me uncomfortable, but yeah, it is. What do you think people like watching that?
I think for a lot of these people, you're seeing
Thank
what
you for the
they might have
Subscribes
thought
and the bits.
now and then in their life, but they were too socially aware to violate the stigma, So
Yeah.
So you break the boundary, which ironically is I think the name of your album, and and
I don't know if that's
that kinda
ironic.
gets
I
me
feel like
going.
that was partly
Yeah,
intentional.
it's probably intentional. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I
Thank you
know.
so
like I said,
much,
I think
chat.
that's
I
a good
love you.
thing,
Thank you,
right? I'm not saying
Sophia.
like this is like bad content. I think
Yeah. No,
I
I
think there's a
know.
place for that for sure.
Have you ever seen the movie Road Trip?
Yes.
Yes.
Tom Green, when he's
Yeah.
feeding the rat to the snake, that's you to me. I don't really understand what's going on, but you're so interesting while you do it that I just want to keep watching.
Like a snake unhinging its jaw and eating a rat.
Like it's like you're feeding a rat to a snake, and for some reason like you're playing with the rat first and like teasing the snake, and then I just like can't look away.
It's a little sexual, but okay.
Thank you.
What? That's not sexual. That's
It's sexual and it's okay.
carnal.
It's carnal, sexual,
Like
whatever.
no, that's something's gonna eat something. It's like
How
you're
is
playing with
feeding
food.
a rat to a snake sexual? Can someone
That
break
is
this down?
not sexual.
It kind of turned me on. I don't know.
It is kind of sexual. A
It's
snake
like when I
is
talked about
everything a
jerking
snake
off.
does is sexual.
Well, okay, Mr. Girl thinks that animals are sexual. I talked to him about zookeepers who jerk
Okay, that's
animals
true.
off, and
And I said it was hot.
Yeah, he said it was hot. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think
I
it's
didn't
hot to
watch
jerk
that.
animals off. Yeah, I don't think it's hot. I'm sorry,
That's
but you know what? I
objectively wrong.
respect you. I respect you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's the way that Tom Green just like talked about it and like analyzed it and was like preparing like the snake and the rat for it. It was like, I don't know, just go back and rewatch it and tell me if you see yourself in there.
Oh well. Thank you
You're welcome.
for the Vision Quest assignment. I'm going to do it.
When you meet someone in real life and they ask what you do on the internet, like what do people know you for? Tell them, it's kind of like, watching someone feed a rat to a snake.
I will. I think that'll
See
be
what
the
their
most
reaction
precise
is. That
way.
would be I would do that just to enjoy the awkwardness. of
People
that response.
people are very surprised that I do anything when they meet me. I think I come off as very mild mannered. I'll be like, and I'm also a rapper when I meet somebody new, and they're like, but
A
really,
good rapper.
thank
the way.
you. I appreciate that.
It's a very wholesome panel. I haven't been called a racist in like 30 minutes.
What's unwholesome about calling you? I'm not. Look, when I call you a racist,
I understand there's no moral
I
judgment. I get it.
He
But
said he
yeah,
wanted
I
to eat the
accept that
racism
you're
out through your
racist.
butthole. To be fair,
I accept you.
I do have a question. Can I ask a question? I'm gonna ask a question. I asked this last panel, but I think it's still a very interesting question. Do you think that there's like an evolutionary reason why when we eat spicy food, it burns on the way coming out, like it burns our buttholes.
I do not eat spicy food at all.
Well, wow.
I
Wow.
believe-
Okay. Now I'm struggling with this, Dooby. I've been essentializing your ethnicity for so long now. How am I going to cope?
I've told you I'm American. I know, brown, born in East LA. I'm American. Okay, I'm not Mexican. I know you're fucking racist, but I'm American.
Why does your butt have to hurt?
I don't.
Why does your
I don't like.
butthole
I
have
don't
to
like being
hurt?
If
tortured
I'm
while I
trying to
eat. So I don't
remember-
eat spicy food.
I took a class called the Psychology of Perception,
Uh-huh.
and I remember there being something about similar cells, like taste buds in your butthole or something like that. Maybe not that.
Ugh.
There's some similarity, I think, between your butthole and your mouth.
Oh, dude, I've been
obvious.
preaching this for like a year. Like when two people
Wait, are you
kiss,
saying we have taste buds in our assholes?
No, I don't remember. It was something
Okay.
like that. There's like some structure that like makes it react similarly, or I'm making this up. I don't remember. I
I've
shouldn't have
been-
said anything.
I've been talking about this for like a year straight, okay? When two people kiss, they connect and they make one giant butthole. It's just like two buttholes connected, and it's like a never-ending butthole. It's fucked up. I don't like
Well,
it.
you'd have to be really like majorly French kissing to get that going on.
No, I
No.
feel like
To the
when
point-
the two
otherwise
lips,
it's like a broken
when the
straw.
lips touch, dude, when the lips touch, you become
instantly
the
become
beginning
one
becomes a butthole and the ending becomes a butthole. That's all you are.
So you could
It's
you could, like,
disgusting.
you could like hand someone a note with like a box, yes or no, and it says, "Do you want to become one long butthole?"
Yeah, I guess you could if you think that's romantic. I think it's disgusting. So
I think it should be a
Sometimes
Hallmark
romance is
card.
disgusting.
I
Would
don't
you
think
like
Alright.
to become one butthole with me?
Guys, I gotta go soon.
Okay. Let me
any
let me count the
final
votes
thoughts?
for the two polls that I did. Usually I do like 5.
I didn't share the other poll yet. Can you give me it?
Yeah, I shared it in your chat already, but yeah, I'll give it to you. I'm on it, okay?
Wow.
Yeah.
Is Nick
there were
Dioreo's
two-
cow cup an emote now?
I need the second one. I already
Yes,
got the
it is an
first one.
emote. Yeah, that's the second one. So it looks like, from what I can see, right? Topic 1, about eating inedible objects. Mr. Girl came in first. Zonia was second, and Dooby was third. And then
I
topic
feel like
2.
that's not fair because he never told me which part of my body he'd nibble on to get the racism out.
The racism is part of your body. Talk about this
So
more
you
later.
just eat me? What the fuck?
You gotta wait for the votes to come in on the second one.
Okay.
Also,
this-
Dooby, eating ass is in. Stop making it sound like a weird
I would
thing.
never do that. No, that's actually disgusting. If you eat ass,
Especially
you're
spicy ass.
unironically a
Liberate
degenerate.
yourself.
You're a degenerate, and you probably should be in a cage somewhere. Okay.
Yo, that's where the
Liberate
poop comes
yourself,
out. I'm not
Dooby.
about that. I don't like that.
Oh,
you
you're
know?
obvious. Okay, are you kidding me? After all the shit you just said, you're saying you're not about that. You eat the butt. Let's.
I don't
Trace
eat
it.
the butt, dude. Butts are
Like
scary.
groceries.
I
You're
cry every
strangely
time,
obsessed with
dude.
buttholes and like shit that comes out of them.
You're
to not
obsessed
eat
with
ass.
buttholes.
I'm
I feel-
scared.
I feel
babe.
like-
I
I
know
feel
2
like you
years
eat-
into marriage, I'm gonna have to give it up, but I'm not ready for that right now. I'm not ready for it.
I
I'm
feel like we're
scared.
gonna see some weird German scat porn on your desktop.
No.
at some
Okay.
point.
I don't look
Just,
at
just
porn.
put on your Tinder
What's the
profile, no
second
butt
poll?
stuff.
Oh, right. Okay, let's look at topic 2. Topic 2, Mr. Girl came in first, Zonia came in second. Chaeiry came in third. So, Mr. Girl is a winner. So that's who I raid. So, thank you guys
Oh,
for
wow.
joining me.
Wow, you're turning all these people into pedophiles. Oh my goodness, that's disgusting.
Come on
Really?
in, guys. The water's warm.
Not only are you platforming him, you're sending your viewers in.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah,
keep
this is the
platforming
most
Twitter's-
weirdest
Twitter's
form
gonna
of
have
okay?
something to say
platforming I've
about
ever
this.
seen. We've
You
got
know what?
Dooby on
I'm-
here. We got Mr. Girl. You got me. This is totally irresponsible.
This is probably the most wholesome chaos cast I've had with the most controversial figures in it. It's great.
Yeah,
We're
we
nice
showed
people.
them.
Yeah, we showed them. Okay, we're rating Mr. Girl. Chat, thank you for joining me. Please come back again. I'm here 7 days a week because I fucking hate myself. And
Jesus
Um,
Christ.
and yeah, I will see you guys soon. Please enjoy yourselves in Mr. Girl's chat. Be good. Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you for joining me, guys. I really appreciate that. That was fun. So
It was a
Yeah.
great one.
Thanks
It's
for
a lot of
having me.
fun.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you for crowning me
yeah.
the victor. I
Of course.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is a good one. I really enjoyed this. Even when it got like super deep into kind of like my dysphoria and stuff, I don't actually mind talking about that stuff. So it was kind of interesting to have somebody sort of dig into that
Yeah.
with me on a panel, because normally there's not really a reason for it to ever come up. So the only time I've ever
Yeah.
really talked about it is in like private conversations with people. So
Well, I appreciate you humoring me,
yeah,
I
and
no
I
have
look
problem.
I look forward
three-
to our experiment.